Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bulldog Report. Eddie Kalegi alongside Ike Bush. A beautiful Saturday afternoon, beginning of fall, first weekend of autumn, and the Metuchen Bulldogs are looking to pick up their first win of the season as they face off with a longtime division rival, the South River Rams. Ike, it's a great day for football, but for Metuchen, they're really trying to pick up after what was a big struggle against Roselle last Friday night.
And just as you said, hunting for their first win, playing against a real good team in South River. The Rams winning 2 of 3 games this year and defeating the Johnson Crusaders, who Metuchen fell to by a few points, but they beat them by a sizable amount of 16 points. So clearly a tough matchup for Metuchen, but the Bulldogs look to pull off the upset at home.
Yeah, and the one challenge for Metuchen in the last game was their run game, Ike. We both remarked on this before we went on the air. 20 carries, -6 total rushing yards. And we've also noticed, seeing the South River players coming out, there's a lot of big guys out there that you know are going to be stacked on that defensive line. How can Metuchen muster something on the run game today with that challenge in mind?
Well, it's similar to what they did at the last home game. They ran some trickery. We saw not that much of that last game. So if we incorporate a little bit of that trickery and that smarter technique, then you could see a little bit of more success through the run or the pass. So Metuchen does best is they find the gaps that they can. So what they'll have to do is find the gaps what they can against a team that is bigger and maybe a little bit better on the run defense. So you got to find what you can and take advantage of the trick plays that they are very successful at.
So the Bulldogs will be coming out on the field momentarily. These teams faced off last year, 29-12, South River won. And it was actually a pretty solid game for Metuchen. He went 11 for 17, 143 yards, and a touchdown. Metuchen has lost the last 5 meetings with the Rams. Their last win was back in 2015, as Metuchen, the quarterback, leads the troops onto the field, as we're just a few minutes away from game time here between the Bulldogs and the South River Rams. As for South River, we talked about it. This is a talented team. They're 2-1, 2-0 in Big Central 2B divisional play. Who are some of their standout players?
Well, there's plenty of standout players, and my big guy right here is DeAndre Morris, the running back. He had a very good game last time, rushing for 112 yards on 16 attempts, and he got into the end zone once. This guy is a threat to the Metuchen defense. They're going to have to work on stopping DeAndre Morris. Along with their tight end one, it is Jordan Crawford, who had plenty of receptions, at 3 receptions, but gutting for 70 yards and a touchdown as well in their win over Johnson.
Yeah, Jordan Crawford, definitely someone to watch out for. Also, Jeffrey Ferreira, he has 5 receiving touchdowns through the first 3 games. But this is a game of talented quarterbacks. We mentioned Metuchen, but also Ryan Kurtz, the quarterback, 465 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a pick. We've talked about Metuchen's offense trying to get something going as they run out onto the field now. My question for you, Ike, of course, on the defensive side, how are they going to be able to contain this rushing attack? You mentioned DeAndre Morris, but also a passer in Ryan Kurtz. South River is a diverse offense. They can make things happen on the ground and through the air. How can Metuchen kind of try to stay balanced on defense and keep them in check?
Well, they clearly like this run game a lot, but the biggest threat to me right now is the passing game. They have a great running back in Morris, but they have so many options through the air. So they're going to have to watch out for those passing opportunities. Middle linebackers should play a little bit deeper, but I want to see the outside linebackers pinch a little bit so they can stop the running game a little bit more. It's going to be interesting to see how they approach the situation, but I want to see Metuchen try to slow down the offense, which they had a tough time doing last time in their loss.
So players heading out for the coin toss now, and for Metuchen here in the Brady Borough, it's a big deal because this is the last game before the Week of Lights, Whiteout Week, and Homecoming, which will include 3 senior nights for boys and girls soccer and field hockey, as well as a football game under the lights for the first time in Metuchen against the Spotswood Chargers a week from today. Ike, there's got to be a lot of anticipation building about all these exciting events here in Metuchen in this coming week.
Absolutely, and they're taking on a team, Spotswood, the Chargers, off to a slow start, just like Metuchen. So that's going to be a game where everyone is excited in a very winnable game. Metuchen's going to look for a big win under the lights, and don't count them out. They are a very, very strong team when it comes to on the run game, and their defense is improving. Obviously a tough game last time, but if they're able to slow down Spotswood, they could really, really do some damage.
So one more thing, I wanted to mention, last time we called a game, of course, it was the home game against the Arthur L. Johnson Crusaders. And Metuchen put up a good fight in that game, but ultimately it was penalties and mistakes, especially the late first half fumble, that really cost them. So how can they limit those mistakes today and try to stay in this against South River?
Well, I think, as I said before, they just have to play smart. Small ball is the way to go, I think. When they were playing small ball, the little QB options and the runners by Stephen Miolishin, that looked really good. And finding A.J. Perillo, the star receiver, over the middle, that was what was working. And for a while, they had that offense going very well. They failed to get into the end zone, but just once. And they had a good deep route, they had a good deep route for the touchdown, so it's going to be an interesting to see what they'll do, but I think they have to go with the small ball attempt.
So we'll pause now for the national anthem and be back momentarily. Back here on the Bulldog Report, Eddie Kalegi alongside Ike Bush here for this big Saturday afternoon contest between the Metuchen Bulldogs and the South River Rams. Now, something I wanted to touch on, of course, with South River is that this is a very celebrated program. Joe Theismann, for example, longtime NFL quarterback, he went to this school, as did Drew Pearson, a receiver who played most of his NFL career with the Dallas Cowboys and was actually inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame back in August. So a lot of pageantry in the South River program, and they're certainly showing it once again with a really talented roster this year.
That's right, and Rich Marchese leading the squad to a solid start, winning 67% of their games, 2 for 3, taking some big wins, but losing that first home opener by a sizable margin. But after that, they've won 2 real nice games, and by a good amount as well. So they hope to extend that streak and now improve it to 3. They're in the hunt to win this division.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rich Marchese, the coach for South River. For Metuchen, it's Guy Jensen, 3-17 in his career. It's a 15-game losing streak for the Bulldogs. And it seems like people lined up on the wrong side. Now they're going to switch sides. But we'll get ready and set to go between the Bulldogs and the Rams. Like we said, it was a hard-fought game for Metuchen last year, falling 29-12 to the South River team on the road. What can they do in front of the home crowd? You got the fire trucks lined up, a packed crowd here in the Brainy Borough. Aiden Holloway and Perillo deep to return for the Dogs. The Rams in white, kicking right to left. Kick is off, and we are underway. That one taken at about the 10-yard line. On the return, it's Holloway. Makes one miss, gets out to the 30, still on his feet, and gets tied up around the 35. So a great return there, and solid field position here for the Bulldogs.
Aiden Holloway scoring once in the corner of the end zone on a deep ball, perfectly thrown by Stephen Miolishin last time against Arthur L. Johnson. So only 3 receptions last time, but they didn't throw that much. So look to see Aiden Holloway be a star in today's game.
Yeah, absolutely. Him and A.J. Perillo, the two primary targets for Metuchen. In fact, Stephen Metuchen has only thrown 5 other passes to people aside from Perillo and Holloway this season. Those are his two main weapons that South River will look to cover today. So Metuchen in at the QB. Looks like it's going to be Perillo's lined up behind him. Coming in motion, it's Connor Larson off to the left side. Wide right is Holloway. Metuchen under center, takes the snap, rolls out, play action on the screen, and Antaporta tried to run with it before he secured it, and that's an unfortunate incompletion.
Although that wasn't hung on to, I really like that play. They found the outside. You see that good pass rush that we saw from South River just now. He rolled out to his right and hit Antaporta, but unfortunately, he dropped the ball.
So it'll be a 2nd down and 10 coming up at the 36-yard line for Metuchen. Some notables in the South River defense include Jordan Crawford, who has 2 fumble recoveries, and Marcus Granadero, who has 25 tackles to lead the team so far this season. And we thank everybody who's tuning in today for this football action here on the Bulldog Report. It's Eddie Kalegi and Ike Bush here on the call. Lined up in the I form, it's a toss play. It's Perillo who's going to try to fight past the tackler, but it's only going to get about 2 yards before he's thrown down hard there. Tackle made by Jordan Crawford, who we talked about at defensive end. A pair of forced fumbles this season. Nearly got one there, but Perillo was able to hang on. So a 3rd down and 9 coming up here for the Dogs. Started out with good field position after a great return from the senior Aiden Holloway, but it's stalled out with just 1 yard on these past 2 plays. Metuchen looked solid on 3rd and 4th down in the game against Johnson, though.
Yeah, that was their key. That was their best part. Unfortunately, the penalty from when in the red zone set them back, but they've been good on the 3rd and 4th down.
3 receivers. Dumps it off. That's caught, but immediately met there on the defensive side. John Balesta, the sophomore, brought that one in, but a great open field tackle there. I believe that was Jaden Harper, the senior, who got there for the stop. And it's going to be a 3 and out coming here. It's going to be 4th down. That one, actually, they're not even going to mark it back at the line of scrimmage. It's going to be a loss of 2, so 4th down and 11, it looks like, coming up here. And Metuchen will get set to punt it away. So an unfortunate 3 and out here on the Bulldogs' first drive after the solid return on the opening kickoff. Jeffrey Ferreira is deep to return for the Rams.
John Balesta had a solid punt last home game.
Flag on the field. And Metuchen had 12 on the field, so that'll move them back a few yards, which is not ideal. And it'll set up a 4th and 16, and now Balesta will be punting from his own 30. But as Ike mentioned, yeah, Balesta looked pretty good on his punts and was able to pin Johnson back a couple of times, but we know there's going to be a hard rush coming here from South River. And that one was not that great of a punt, as it bounces near midfield. Kind of aired that one a little too far and only got it about 20 yards.
Yeah, it looked like he almost just toe-balled that one. It's sort of just about 10 yards, or 15 yards, I should say, and that was not an ideal punt. So now this defense has to help them out and stop them on a halfway. They're already halfway towards the end zone, so they gotta be a lot more stout here.
So 9:44 remaining here in the first quarter, and South River begins their drive, and out onto the field comes their quarterback, Ryan Kurtz. Last season against Metuchen, Kurtz went 8 of 15 for 90 yards. It was the now graduated running back Austin Soares who led the way for the team. So it'll be a 1st down and 10 at the Metuchen 48. Kurtz drops back, has time, fires away deep, and that one's going to bounce short of the intended receiver right there, Joseph Lepore.
I'm going to say that was a lucky, he should feel happy that wasn't intercepted. That was thrown in between just about 3 defenders that had their hands up and almost took that. So that would have been a disastrous first play for South River. But the Rams get fortunate, and they just settle for 2nd down and 10.
Couple of defensive backs, Stephen Mielishin and Matthew Flood got in front of that one, but couldn't do anything about it. So 2nd down and 10 now. This one will be a short screen pass, and trying to get free for about 5 yards down to around the 42-yard line on that play, and 3rd down's coming.
Expect to see a lot of that. Jeffrey Ferreira, he's one of their best receivers, so he got a lot of receptions in the last game. You got to wait and see those dump-off passes to him because he's a quick guy along the outside. So make sure you expect to see a lot of passes.
And that one's fumbled off the snap. Did Metuchen get to it? Hey, they did. Big time mistake right there on the snap. Tried to pitch it, and it looked like Kurtz tried to pitch it before he actually had it in his hands, and it slipped out. And a heads-up play by the Metuchen defense to get there, and the Bulldogs get the ball in great field position.
And how nice is that for the Bulldogs to hop on that on the 3rd down play, which looked to be some good yards. Cadillo was on the blitz there, and once it was fumbled, the ball fell right into his lap as he dove onto it and took the ball back for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Cadillo, one of their top defenders, a senior, one of the key leaders on this defensive side. And Metuchen will start their 2nd drive 3 minutes in with the ball at their own 46.
Once again, Perillo in the backfield, a very unusual sight for the Bulldogs here, but he is in the backfield.
But as we've seen, Perillo plays basically every position on this team. Play action, Mielishin's pass is going to be brought in right near the 1st down marker. And that's a nice catch.
That looked like Cody Cardillo on the reception, the tight end. And he's so good at route running for a tight end. He's a quick guy, and he gets over the middle and towards the outside, and they'll get the first play, 1st down. Bulldogs offense looking pretty good on this drive. First play, they'll get 10 yards and a 1st down.
Cardillo, that's his first reception of the season, and great play there to get the 1st down. Metuchen now has it at the South River 44. First big play from this team so far today.
Looks like John Balesta in the fullback position, and A.J. Perillo gets the toss.
Perillo takes the toss and drags a couple defenders for about a yard, not much there. Perillo does run the ball sometimes. He has 9 carries for 78 yards this season, but of course he's typically their wide receiver. But he's kind of playing that flex option for them. They know if they get the ball into his hands, he can make things happen, and they're willing to kind of experiment a bit.
That's right, and I think that's what the whole idea is here. Perillo, though, most of his rushing opportunities are along the outside on jet sweeps or tosses towards the outside. So we're seeing a lot of outside runs from him, and there, his first attempt or his second attempt is a toss towards the outside. So they want to get him and his speed along the outside of this defense because we know he could have some serious potential making plays.
So that was marked right back at the line of scrimmage. So 2nd down and 10 here at the 44. Mielishin stays in the pocket, now makes a move, makes a miss, and gets a solid positive gain there of about 3 or 4 near the 40-yard line. It'll set up a 3rd and about 7.
If Mielishin continues to do things like this, he has great awareness. So he's in the backfield, settling there, and when he senses the pressure, he gets out of it and steps up. I really like the way he stepped up when there are both sides coming towards him, the outside on a really nice blitz from the ends. But Perillo was open, but he was pretty smothered by the safety that could have jumped in. So he seemed open, but he could have been smothered with just a quick pass, and he didn't have much leniency to not throw a perfect pass there.
And that's the improvement we've seen from Mielishin. 2 years ago, he would have gotten sacked on a play like that, but his awareness, like you said, has just continued to improve. As this one is a give up the middle, but not enough for the 1st down. Perillo takes that one.
There it is again. It's A.J. Perillo along the outside, and that's what I'm saying. They want him to play all these positions for one reason, because, as you said earlier, he is a playmaker that has so much explosive ability, whether it's along the outside or even up the middle. We've seen Perillo do it all.
So 4th down and 4, Mielishin keeping the troops out there after the less than stellar punt from Balesta at the end of the first drive, and with the ball back at the 38. And South River's offense looking vulnerable on that first drive. Metuchen, who were so strong on 3rd and 4th down against Johnson, decided to try to see if lightning will strike twice.
I think we'll see a rollout pass from Steven here. That's what they like to go to on these situations.
And that might have just cost things. Might have been a jump on O'Leary. And that's exactly what it is. And that is an unfortunate 5-yard loss. And now it'll be a 4th and 9 and make things a little more difficult here. It was almost like I felt like O'Leary was really kind of leaning up towards the line in anticipation, but didn't time the snap counts right.
Yeah, that's that. On a play like that, it seemed like it must have been a run. They really wanted to get that blocker up there. So it might have been a run or a rollout, but he needed extra protection, and on the hard snap, he just jumped a little bit early.
So now it's a 4th and 9, and they are going to punt the ball away. Ballista gets a pretty good one off here. And Metuchen lets it bounce. It takes actually a friendly South River bounce. Bulldogs got to just stop that one, and they will around the 23-yard line. And that's where South River will try to pick things up after the fumble on their first drive.
A lot better punt there from Ballista. And so they'll pin him pretty deep in their own end, just past the 20-yard line, just by the 24. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do on this drive after the fumble. Bulldogs would like to thank the Haynes family for providing dinner for the team. Please support Metuchen small businesses, especially Elcha's food truck.
So, ride starting here for South River at their own 23. Kurtz is going to hand this one off, and bouncing towards the 30-yard line is the runner there. That was DeAndre Morris.
Ball carried by DeAndre Morris.
And he'll get about 7.
7 on the play.
DeAndre Morris, we talked about him at the top of the show, and Metuchen, it's going to be hard to contain this man. 237 rush yards through 3 games this season.
Yeah, what I love about him is, from what I'm seeing, he's very elusive, and he was able to power his way up to the just about short of the first down. But let's see what he does here.
Again, it's a handoff to Morris. He makes one miss, stutter steps, gets the first down, tries to drag forwards, and it looks like a flag potentially on the play as he got just past the first down. That might have been a horse collar or something on the Bulldogs, because that was a bit of aggressive tackle.
Emil Leisham was not in the play there, so he's actually not just a great quarterback. He plays some very good safety and defensive back, so he just runs onto the field for this particular formation.
So that's disappointing for Metuchen, and we talked about it. They can't beat themselves. Already their 3rd penalty, this one a face mask, which is going to push them back 15 yards. So first 10 now at the 42-yard line. 4 receivers lined up here for Ryan Kurtz's offense. Kurtz takes the snap, drops back, has time, another flag on the field, pressure comes, he breaks through, trying to get back to the marker, or is pushed out of bounds, and gets tripped up. We'll see what this penalty is this time around. This time it's on South River, a hold, and all the progress they made from the last flag will now be negated as they'll be pushed back.
Both teams looking very jumpy right now, and the flags are just evidence of that. So, not sure what the flag is yet, but we know it's on South River, and it's going to set them back a few yards.
So it was a hold. It's going to put them back 10 yards back to the 31-yard line, which will set up a 1st and 20 here for South River. But these Rams, we expected some sloppiness from the Bulldogs, to be completely honest. We're seeing a lot from the Rams as well so far in this game, as DeAndre Morris gets blockers, makes one miss. Bulldogs, with about 8 defenders there to swarm to him, bring him down after a gain of about 6.
And if it's working, keep doing it. Morris is rushing substantially right now. He's running for plenty of yards, and he's averaging just about 6 yards. So you gotta love what Morris is doing around the outside. And Metuchen has no way to stop him. They had to get a whole bunch of guys to take him down in that last play. So Morris now and the Rams with 2nd and 14. We'll see what they do. I say you give it back to Morris.
Yeah, I mean, Metuchen has not proven to be able to stop them, and it takes a lot of Bulldog bodies to be able to tackle the running back. And again, Kurtz will bring his Rams offense into the eye. 2 receivers right. This time he's going to roll right, now moves back to the left. He's going to air this one out, but incomplete. Nice stop there on the defensive side by Metuchen. Getting in front of that one was Aiden Holloway.
Great awareness from him. I really like the play action there to make it seem like they're running to him. As I said, I predicted the run, but they did a nice play action, which almost even tricked me. And they ended up trying to dump it over the middle, but Holloway, as you said, with a great swat.
So scoreless game, 3:29 to go in the opening quarter here from Metuchen. Two of the only teams in the Big Central, by the way, that still play Saturday afternoon games. Most teams play Friday night. South River's next game is a 1 o'clock home game against St. Thomas, but of course the Bulldogs will be under the lights next Saturday against Spotswood for the first time. So third down, 14 yards to go. Ball at their own 38. Kurtz takes the snap. Another play action. He's going to throw. That one's going to be short of the marker. Looked like it was brought in by Ferreira right near the 45-yard line, but not close to the marker, and that'll set up a fourth and about 7 or 8.
I really like this Metuchen defense right now against such a good offense. Obviously, their troubles on the run defense in the first drive is not ideal, of course. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing. They're marking good zone and forcing him to get out of the pocket and make plays that he didn't necessarily draw up. So the South River Rams are going to have to keep trying to force the run until they get the offense through the pass going.
I also feel like Metuchen's just doing a great job containing, because this is a quarterback who went 7 for 10 and threw 3 touchdowns against Johnson, and you know is explosive to throw a big play out there. And Metuchen is trying to keep it in front of them, not let anybody behind, and he hasn't been able to air it out yet. And it looks like a timeout's going to be called here.
And not surprisingly, though, they keep going to the run. They had 35 rushing attempts against Johnson, and the Crusaders were unable to stop them. They got in the end zone once, but rushing for 215 yards total, including Ryan Kurtz rushing 3 attempts and 7 yards, the quarterback. But they're attempting 35 times on the run and only 10 in the air. I mean, Metuchen's going to have to also idolize the run defense, because we might see a lot of the run.
Yeah, and it's interesting how they've been able to strategize this so far. There's so much talent on this rushing attack, but and Metuchen's a similar defense to Johnson. We were mentioning how evenly matched those two teams look, just about size and such, but right now Metuchen struggling a bit on the run, but they've been able to contain the passes. So 2:33 remaining here in the first quarter. Scoreless game between the Bulldogs and the Rams, and it looks like South River will prepare to punt this one away. Jordan Crawford, Kurtz is going to fake it. He's going to roll out to the right side, gets near the first down marker, dives, and he might have gotten there. A fake punt. Kurtz hesitated like he was going to punt, then pulled it down and ran. Metuchen with a really slow reaction there. And he did not make it to the marker. He got right around midfield, pushed out of bounds about a yard shy. Great job by the Bulldogs to get there just in the nick of time. But a near disaster for the Bulldog defense and an attempted fake punt by the Rams.
You know, that was a big risk, but they're willing to take that chance early here, and I really appreciate that. The Rams going for that in a fake fashion too, because maybe if they just ran a play, it wouldn't have worked, but the fake was a better idea here, and it almost worked, but now Metuchen's got to get the offense going and take advantage of this good field position they have.
Yeah, they couldn't take advantage when they got down the field last time. Let's see what they can do on their third drive of the day as we approach the end of the first quarter. Ball right now right at midfield. First down and 10. Metuchen takes the snap. He's going to run it himself, makes a couple miss, dives down for about 6 yards around the 43.
Interesting to see Metuchen run so much this year. After talking to him over the spring, he did say that he doesn't idolize the run as much, and he's more into just, getting the passes in. He described himself as more of a Mac Jones type of player rather than a Justin Fields. And I really love to see the way that he started to run a lot more on offense, and it creates another dual threat piece for the Metuchen Bulldogs.
And you're talking about all these NFL quarterbacks. I mean, we've seen in NFL and college that the running quarterback has seemed to be the way to go now. And Metuchen, like I said, was a pocket passer predominantly 2 years ago when he first took over this program. As this pass is complete, down near the 35 for a first down to Aiden O'Leary. So Metuchen on target there, his third completion of the game, and the Bulldogs have a first down.
That was a really, really nice play, but it was swatted, and they made the best of it. I'm not even sure if that was intended to Aiden O'Leary, but it did get to him, and he got a good few yards and a first down.
So the ball's going to be at the 33 now here for Metuchen as they look to continue to drive and potentially punch it in. And what we saw 2 weeks ago against Johnson was a lot of Metuchen getting opportunities, getting down the field, but then squandering them.
Yeah, that's right, and obviously they got into the end zone early, but it ended up getting called back for the flag. So Metuchen's got to watch their flags. They already have a few today, but they have some serious splash on the offense.
Metuchen rolls out left. That one's going to be complete to John Balesta, maybe back to the line of scrimmage, but that's about it.
To Balesta.
And you mentioned Metuchen running the ball. He's running the ball a lot, but it hasn't really mustered much. Coming into this game, 45 carries for 90 yards. That's only 2 yards per carry. He's had a couple of big ones, and he's had a couple of decent ones today. But Metuchen just hasn't been able to get anything going on the run game this season with Jake Lipinski's graduation last year.
Yeah, and it seems to be an open idea because we've seen a lot. Antaporta back there. We've seen even Perillo today. Balesta's tried that back there. So they're trying to experiment a lot. Right now we see Antaporta back there, but they're trying to idolize the run when they can, and it's looked very good so far today.
Pressure comes. Metuchen airs it out towards the end zone. It's Holloway making the catch inside the 5. Aiden Holloway with another explosive catch right to end the first quarter, and Metuchen will have a first and goal when the second quarter gets underway. What a cannon from Metuchen.
That was a great throw, and I think I'd credit Aiden Holloway for a great run as well. But I think that the South River Rams have to work on that deep zone. We saw Connor Kosa, he had to lead into that deep guy down the line. When you see that happen, you should draw up. I think he was focused on the middle of the field. He did not see Holloway, and Holloway, as a result, got a really nice catch and a deep ball and ended up getting down, really pinning them towards the end zone. So that's a really nice throw. But Kosa's got to watch that deep zone because Holloway's going to be back there the whole day.
Yeah, definitely. So we're at the end of the first quarter, a scoreless game. A good opportunity to shout out the MHS Booster Club, a volunteer organization and a vital part of our athletics program. The Booster Club fundraises to support MHS athletic teams with equipment purchases and other essentials not covered in the Board of Education budget. The club also hosts the annual Senior Sports Awards and provides scholarships to graduating senior athletes. Every family who has a child participating in MHS athletics should join the club. So a good time once again to shout out the Bulldog Report, a combination, the MHS podcast, of course, coming together with the Metuchen High School Media Club to produce these games. MHS podcast, the first episode of the school year, will be coming next week, including an interview with new principal, Mr. Porowski, and you can stay in touch with the Metuchen High School Media Club. They have a lot in the works as well, and you can follow along. And if you're interested in joining, you can talk to Ben Salaski, the junior student club advisor. So Metuchen has a first and goal here. After the catch by Holloway, the snap is rolled back to Metuchen. He thankfully from Metuchen grabs it, but it's going to be a loss of a couple of yards. And that you just can't let that happen after such a big play, Ike.
No, you cannot. But luckily he did pick it up. They got him deep, but that's a fumbled snap, and that cannot be the case for Metuchen. They have to work on ball security. We saw that problem last time, and the potential for a big play awaits if they lose the ball. If you remember, at halftime, just before, with about 14 seconds left, Metuchen fumbled the ball. Arthur L. Johnson returned it like 90 yards to the end zone. So Metuchen has to work on ball security today, and if they can, they have a serious shot.
Metuchen looking for some clarity from his coach there on the sideline. It's a second down and goal, ball at the 7. He rolls out. Pressure comes. Stays alive once, but the second tackler, he can't escape. With the sack there is Joseph Lakatos, junior defensive tackle. And now it'll be third down and goal. And just after that great play, suddenly Metuchen has just gone backwards on consecutive plays to start the second quarter.
Yeah, it couldn't have been worse fashion. The first one, a fumble, which ended up going nowhere besides backwards. And this one also a blitz. So they have to work on just the O-line producing. I expect them to go to the air here. So watch out for Aiden Holloway and also A.J. Perillo deep in the red zone. But they should get some positive yardage because without a real reliable kicker option, they need to get as close as they can, or if they want to set up a fourth down chance to go for it.
So third down and goal. Ball is all the way back at the 16. And now a timeout's going to be called here by the Metuchen Bulldogs. So Metuchen's going to try to reset things here, but despite what's happened these last two plays, it was a really good first quarter. They kept South River off the board and made some plays. What have you liked most from Metuchen so far today?
I really like their defense, their zone defense that they've been running the whole time. They ran a little bit of the man as well, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing from that zone. Just the middle option is what we're seeing a lot from South River, and they're clamping onto it. So that's looking really good for the Bulldogs, and I really like this defense. If they could establish stopping the running game and stopping Morris, they could have a really good defensive day, and they're starting off really well, already forcing a turnover and a stop and a punt. So they're going to be in good shape if they're able to stop Morris even a little bit more and keep this defense going.
So Metuchen is going to need another big throw here. Third down and goal all the way back at the 16. He's going to pull it down, take it himself, stumbles forwards, and he's going to get almost half those yards back. Dives just past the 10-yard line, around the 9 or the 8, but it's going to set up a fourth down and a decision here for Metuchen. Of course, like we've said, the kicking game has never really been something that's been necessarily sure for the Dogs in these past years. And now we'll see exactly what the plan is for Metuchen here on a fourth down play. Metuchen is going to be heading back out there. So it looks like the Bulldogs are going to go forward here on fourth down and goal. Ball spotted at the 10.
Cardillo in for Holloway, so that might show putting a bigger guy, a tight end, a guy that could block, or another wide receiver option. We'll see what the Bulldogs do. I'm assuming they'll pass.
Strong side right with Perillo and Holloway. Larson left. Metuchen drops back, throws deep for the end zone. Too strong for A.J. Perillo. And again, Metuchen works it into the red zone. Had first and goal at the 4-yard line, but a fumbled snap, a sack, a run, and an incompletion. And Metuchen will be held silent in a big-time scoring opportunity here at the start of the second quarter.
I really like that South River defense there to stop them on fourth down. 3 plays, and they were able to stop them really deep in their own zone. So obviously the fumble helped some momentum, and then the blitz, and then after that, it just kind of fell off from there. So now Metuchen is back on the defensive side, though luckily on the other side of the field.
It was Jaden Harper and Joseph Lakatos who brought the pressure on that drive. Now a handoff here is DeAndre Morris, pushing forwards past the 20-yard line, and that should get them right near the first down marker, and it will move the chains. DeAndre Morris scampers out of the backfield for about an 11, and it's a first down for the Rams.
What a run again from Morris to find the open hole. He's so good at finding those gaps and at taking advantage of them as he rushes through the hole and gets the first down on the first play of the drive.
He has such a quick first step, too. It seems like the defense is constantly playing from behind the moment he gets the ball.
Absolutely, and as a running back, you don't always know what you're going to do, but Morris does. He looks like he's knowing what he's doing, when in reality, he's kind of improvising and finding the holes that he can.
This time, not much, but a very late flag comes in after a gain of about 3, and the officials will come together to discuss the call. So it'll be holding against the Rams. And we talked about Metuchen's penalties. This is not the first hold we've seen from South River. I believe this is already their 3rd penalty of the day. It's been a little sloppy so far for the Rams.
Definitely sloppy, and they're not coming out as explosive as I thought that they would. Metuchen's defense is doing a really good job today, but the Rams should be trying to beat them over the middle and try to take advantage of those deep balls that they run so well. The run game looking really good though, but we got to see a little bit more leadership from Kurtz and this offense. They got to be storming down the field if they want to win this game.
So all that yardage that DeAndre Morris had gotten on the run 2 plays ago now completely gone. They're back at their own 11, and the handoff is going to go to Morris again, and he's going to get open field, and he's going to get taken down. Guess what? Where he got the first time, 10 yards down to the 21-yard line, and it'll set up a 2nd down and 10.
So consistent. At this point, you just got to keep handing it to him. As I said earlier, if it's working, don't change it, and it's working. So do not change it, because Morris is finding those gaps, as I said, and Metuchen has nothing to do about it right now.
Bulldogs allowed 120 rush yards in the game last Friday night at Roselle, and I think it just gets worse and worse as the game goes on, because especially on these consecutive runs, you start seeing some fatigue. And when you have a team like South River that does have multiple options in that backfield, it really starts to tire them out. And again, it's Morris with a quick burst near the first down marker, short by about a yard, just past the 30, and will set up a 3rd and short.
I find it a little odd that they were able to stop Brown from the Crusaders so well. They really established stopping that. Their D-line looked really good, pinching, and Brown really had nothing to do. His only positive yardage was really on those screen passes that we saw often from Arthur L. Johnson. But Metuchen, obviously, in these past 2 weeks, last week and this week, we've seen a lot of a different defense. A lot better on the pass defense, but not as good on the run defense.
And I think a lot of that, Ike, you can attribute to just this offensive line for South River that is creating holes. Out left, first down and more, breaking a tackle past the 35 for about 6 yards or so, down to the 37. That's Jihad Bright that took that handoff.
And he plays wide receiver, so they gave it to the wide receiver to get that first down. And Jihad Bright, the junior, has some stuff in him, and he made a great run there for the first down. Another great offensive line, display of the offensive line there as he finds the hole and gets the first down.
Bright typically not one of their runners. The other is Darius Armstrong, who we haven't seen much today. The freshman has 17 carries for 78 yards this season. So first down and 10, ball at the 37. This one is taken by Morris. He spins forwards for about 8 yards, dragged down at the 45.
Just want to talk about a little bit about Daquan, number 72, Daquan Colbert. He's looking so good on that offensive line towards the outside. He just led Cadilla to the middle and tripped Cadilla up a little bit, and the run went to the outside his way. So he forced the defender out, which gave him that gap to get a really nice run. I'm really liking what I've seen from Daquan Colbert so far. A big guy on the offensive line. He's making a lot of these holes that they're running through.
Daquan Colbert is a man's man there, and he's been doing a great job so far. This time, a little awkward on the handoff, a dive near the first down marker. We'll see if they give it to him.
Short gain on the play.
It looks like it's going to be spotted just a little short, so it's going to be 3rd and inches coming up here for... Actually, it'll be a first down, so a first down for South River on the run, and they continue to chip away ever since Metuchen's turnover on downs. The clock keeps running, and they slowly are working their way down the field and running down the clock. Only 5.5 minutes left in the first half.
It's still a 0-0 game. This game's up for grabs, and they're running out the clock, and it's working. They're fatiguing this defense. It's very exhausting for that D-line to keep blocking against this O-line.
It's going to be a direct handoff to the fullback here, who gets free and gets to the first down marker and will be wrestled out of bounds around the 40 on that carry. That's Marcus Granadero, who we talked about, the leading tackler on the defense, making something happen on the ground. Another different runner here, and another one Metuchen just can't stop.
And he never even went down. He just got pushed out and stayed up when he was out of bounds. So they might turn to him a few more times, especially in those power situations, our guys versus your guys type of thing. You might just see them run it to him, and that was a really nice run for about 10 yards. You don't typically see that from fullbacks because they don't have the speed to keep up. But he got a really nice run around the outside, so he's contributing both offensively and defensively today.
So ball's at the 40 of Metuchen. South River continue to work their way down. This one is a handoff and thrown down hard on the tackle. It's Rocco Dagan, and Jeffrey Ferreira, who got the handoff there, was going nowhere.
Rocco Dagan with a take.
And he just did a little bit of a swim move there and moved to his right to take them down. A really nice tackle from Dagan, a very strong sideline interior D lineman, and he made a really nice tackle to get them negative yardage. Really good job for the defense to stop this run after a long sequence of a lot of runs. But keep in mind, field goal range comes a little bit earlier for the Rams as they have a solid kicker. So keep in mind these runs are getting them towards field goal range, which will get them some points on the board.
Field goals were what really hurt Metuchen against Johnson. Kurtz is going to air this one out deep, deflected looked like it was kind of off the helmet of Perillo, who got in front there on the throw intended for Joseph Lepore. I don't know if Perillo really had an eye on the ball, but his body blocked it nonetheless, and it'll result in a 3rd down and long.
I think I really like that play from Kurtz to get out of the pocket when he saw the pressure, which we've seen a lot from Metuchen, but we saw the pressure. He gets out of the pocket and throws it on the run across his body, it seemed. It ended up getting swatted away by their star guy, Perillo, but it was a nice throw on the run across his body. Not an easy thing to do. A very hard thing to do for a quarterback, especially with pressure, needing to get the ball off. And that was a nice throw, but it was a really nice swat down.
So 4 minutes, 18 seconds remaining here in the first half. Eddie Kalegi, Ike Bush here on the call on the Bulldog Report. 3rd down and 11. South River has held the ball since the 10-minute mark here of the second quarter when the Bulldogs turned it over on downs inside the South River 10. Screen pass. It's behind. It's a flea flicker. It's going to be fired deep by Ferreira. They all fall down. It's tipped to the air and almost caught by Lepore. He just couldn't get a hand on it. That was almost a chaotic catch. Almost an immaculate reception there for Lepore. It bounced off a South River and Metuchen player, but Lepore just couldn't get a finger on it.
What an odd sequence of events. Deflecting off a helmet, it seemed. And it was just out of his reach for a potential running touchdown. But I really like that throw and that play, the flea flicker, which was really unexpected from a touch in there. They ended up not pressuring him, waiting for the wide receiver to end up coming up, and then they'll tackle him. But he ends up throwing the ball, so he has it with no pressure on a deep ball. And I'm surprised there was no flag there. They looked like they were both given some contact, no hold and nothing. It's 4th and 11 now.
Yeah, could have said it either way, but I guess, just a little back and forth. Really, it was on both of them. And Kurtz is going to roll out this time. He will punt it away. No more trickery this time. It's going to take a very friendly bounce and be down inside the 5, down near the 2-yard line by Lepore. And Metuchen will be trapped deep in their own territory. And now what you worry about in a scoreless game so far back is the dreaded safety. So Metuchen's going to make sure they try to get forward progress and get some space beyond them so they don't have the embarrassing down 2-0 at halftime.
Absolutely, and I think at this point you got to give it to Antaporta. No more rollout passes, because the way this defense is working is they're coming along the outside and blitzing and sensing, and Metuchen is sensing the pressure, and it's forcing him to make some bad mistakes. So they got to just run the ball, I think, to Antaporta, who's their power guy that will get him out and give him some breathing room. Just a little bit, 3 or 4 yards is all they need for a little bit more comfort to run the plays that they normally would.
So 4 minutes to go in the half. Metuchen will be kicking to start the second half. South River will get the ball. So this is a crucial drive for both teams. South River to try to keep Metuchen off the board, and the Bulldogs to make sure they don't make a mistake like they did against Johnson. If you recall 2 weeks ago, Metuchen was driving and fumbled the ball. It was a 90-yard scoop and score touchdown that turned that game around. And I think this is a great play call right here to get some space as Metuchen just pushes the pile forwards for about 4 yards.
That was really good. They were expecting the run to Antaporta there. So Metuchen took it himself. It was just a little QB sneak to get him the yards that they needed. However, it works. They got the yards, and it's looking really good now for Metuchen for that positive yardage. But of course, they're still deep in their zone, so they can't completely forget about that. They have to run the plays, but be cautious that they're on a good defense, a good pass rushing defense, and they're going to have to be cautious and wary of that.
So ball is going to be at their own 7-yard line here. It's a second down, 7 yards to go. Clock still ticks. Bulldogs have a pair of timeouts remaining and 3:16 on the clock. Metuchen this time with a little sidestep work. Again, is going to get forwards near the 10-yard line, but not much else.
He took it to the outside this time. Last time it was just kind of a sneak over the middle. This time, Stephen Metuchen will run towards the outside, which was a good idea, but it ended up being scooped up, and he will be taking down just short of the first down. They're about 3 or 4 yards away from that first. So now they're going to force it into a tough situation now. To run the ball, you got to get this first down because the punting situation is fine. It's improving, but it's not great. So if you punt it, the ball's going to probably be spotted around the 40 or 50-yard line, which will give them enough space and room to get into field goal range with such little time, or just towards the end zone. So they have to try to get this first down. Maybe Metuchen will even go for it if they get to 4th down and short. But we'll see what the Metuchen play calling and what the coaches do. But Coach Jensen, definitely a bold scheme that he has planned. So don't be surprised if you see a 4th down play on this drive.
Metuchen looked a little sore there. Took a knee. It looked like he got dinged there on that dive, but he's all right. And as you mentioned, for Coach Guy Jensen, there's so much motivation for him. He started 3-2 in his first 5 games and has dropped the last 15 since. And any time where you have a legitimate chance of winning a game, you got to make something happen. And this would be a crucial one to convert here. 3rd down. And it's going to go up the middle for Antiporta. Ball's going to pop out. I think South River might have gotten to it, but the question was he already down? If this is a turnover, this is catastrophic, just like the Johnson game from Metuchen.
That would be very bad. The clock doesn't stop. The clock is running. But it just stopped at 2:46. But the ball is turned over. As we think. We're not sure what the ref's official call is yet, but they're both signaling the other way. South River looks like they'll get the ball deep in Metuchen's zone, and how deflating is that for Metuchen?
2 games at home in a row, a late first half fumble that proves costly. Well, let's see if this proves costly, but still the ball's at the 10-yard line, and South River has been able to ground and pound throughout that drive and work it way down the field. So Metuchen's defense, who they've really depended on, and you can't say anything bad about the defense so far. There's still a goose egg on the board for South River, but this is a big-time test with the Rams getting the ball to start the second half. They've really got to try to keep them out of the end zone here. But saw Rich Marchese on the sideline was really signaling for the ball that it had come out and that Antiporta was not down, and I do think they made the right call there. It looked like Antiporta dropped that before his knee hit the ground, but you really wonder there. Metuchen had 2 good runs about why you would hand it off to Antiporta, especially in a 3rd down situation where you're still at 3rd and 7, and someone like Perillo is a little more explosive, and there's a higher chance of getting more yards. Antiporta is a little more of a push-the-pile type of runner that's not going to get you the 7 yards. He's going to get you the 2-3 yards, but that's not really what they were looking for there.
I think their intentions were to go in on 4th down. I think they wanted those 2-3 yards from Antiporta to set up an easier 4th down, which they could have done multiple things. But I think Antiporta could have even got the ball twice in the next 2 plays. 2 or 3 yards would have got them the 1st down if they ran it consecutive times.
But regardless, as Antiporta coughs up the ball, South River's going to have it now at the 12-yard line. 1st down and 10. It's a handoff. DeAndre Morris goes left, and Metuchen's defense snuffs it out and pushes him back behind the line.
So I've been high on Morris all day, and I really like what he's been doing. But in this case, he ran, and there was a hole towards the middle. It looked like the left guard pushed him outside. But Morris ended up trying to go to the outside instead of going to that hole on the inside part of the offensive line, which would have got him, I think, a few more yards. Morris, a very bold take, but he ends up going negative yards.
This time Morris gets it. He moves right, has a blocker to the corner of the end zone, and he's in for a score. And South River is on the board. DeAndre Morris punches it in, his 2nd rushing touchdown of the season. He's been really the key to the South River offensive attack today. And the turnover proves costly, and the Rams are on the board taking a 6-0 lead.
This time it was appropriate to go to the outside, and he knew that. Not afraid to make big plays and take the risk. Going to the outside sometimes can cause negative yardage, but this time he bounces to the outside and ends up in the corner of the end zone with no one standing within 3 feet of him. So you got to love that run from DeAndre Morris, and a great start to his day.
With 2:10 to go in the 2nd quarter, and just heartbreaking for Metuchen. 2 home games in a row. Costly turnovers that put them in a bad spot heading into halftime. They still have time. They still have a timeout, but definitely don't want to make any other mistakes, as that extra point is good for Devin Wilson. And South River now leads 7-0 with 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in the first half.
So they will get the ball back, fortunately for them. But it's 2 minutes and 10 seconds. The way Metuchen's been running is a little bit of a longer offense. They like to take their time and inch away at the 1st down and roll out and maybe get a few yards, an option, a 1st down through the air on just a little dump pass. But Metuchen's now forced to try to get a 1st down with just 130 seconds left in the half, it's going to be not an easy thing to do against this defense who's pushing the offense to do a lot more. So Metuchen's going to have to be very cautious of that blitz and try to hold on to the ball again, because we know the strip sacks that they've caused all year could happen again, and that would just be depressing for them to go into the half fumbling twice within 3 minutes. They got to make sure they hold on to the ball there.
So coming to Metuchen High School on Saturday, October 9th, the Greater Middlesex Conference will be hosting the Blue and White Division's Women's Soccer Festival, Soccer for a Cause. It's a GMC charity event, 14 teams playing. Opening ceremonies will kick off at 9:45 a.m. on Saturday, October 9th. So South River will kick it away. Metuchen has 2 minutes and 10 seconds. My question for you, Ike, actually I'll wait till after the kickoff, as this one will be kicked away. It's squibbed. It bounces off of one of the special teams players. Metuchen dives on it. About 4 more come on top of him. But it's to about the 30-yard line. It was secured by John Balesta. But the ball is at the 30. Metuchen has decent field position. 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Of course, another mistake would be costly. But what's your strategy if you're Guy Jensen here? Still time on the clock to try to make something happen.
I think I really like those Stephen Mielishin runs. He doesn't fumble the ball often. Obviously, he fumbled that ball in the opposite zone, the 90-yard touchdown, scoop and score. But I think that I trust his ball security here, and I trust that he sometimes could find those holes and get those explosive plays that Metuchen is searching for right now. I also like those jet sweeps that we find to A.J. Perillo that we find here watching. Perillo on the jet sweeps, he gets to the outside. Last time it worked a whole bunch of times. Maybe they'll do a few of that, but I think they got to inch towards the end zone and try to avoid the run and just try to get, even if they do run, find those holes and try to make the runs explosive.
Mielishin's been good passing the ball, and just as you said, they're going to start with a Mielishin run, and he gets a few yards there for some space out near the 34. But the other thing, their passing game has been solid today. The only problem has been the protection has kind of fallen apart, and part of that I think is because of the pressure from the defense, but also because Metuchen has a lot of two-way linemen that I think get tired out from doing so much on defense, then have to do the same thing on offense. Mielishin here working quickly, takes the snap, throws this one, and that one's going to be incomplete, looking for Aiden Holloway, and that'll set up a 3rd down and 7 from the South River 34.
That was Jihad Bright on the swat down. He got over the back and knocked that down. He tried to fit into a tight hole. It looks like there's going to be a flag. Not sure exactly what the call is, but it is against South River.
Very late flag there.
Very late flag. But it is against South River. Metuchen's offense definitely happy here as the time does stop, and they'll get a few yards closer to the halfway.
It's got to be a personal foul because it's a 15-yarder that's going to move them all the way to the 49 and give Metuchen a 1st down. Honestly, didn't see exactly what it was, but that is a massive break for the Bulldogs. Instead of 3rd and 7 at their own 34, it's a 1st and 10 at midfield. 1:38 on the clock, so there's still time. This one's going to be a gift to Perillo. He makes one miss. He cuts upfield, pushed out of bounds, just shy of the 35-yard line. That's that explosiveness I talked about with A.J. Perillo on full display, and another 1st down for the Bulldogs.
I will say it's a perfect play there for him. You know, Perillo, to get that play, to get out of bounds, stop the clock, and get the 1st down. What a perfect sequence and a perfect, well-drawn-up play for the Bulldogs on their first jet sweep to A.J. Perillo.
So 1st down and 10, 1:31 to go. Key, he got out of bounds, stopped the clock. And again, it's forward. This time it's Mielishin who gets taken down at about the 34-yard line. Tackle made there by Jaden Harper.
And obviously 1 minute and 26 seconds is not a lot, but in football, that is a lot of time, especially for an offense that's only lasted about 20 seconds here. They're now driving with 1 minute and 26 ahead of them, which isn't a whole bunch of time, but it's definitely a lot considering they're late into the half. So Metuchen, I really like the way they've been starting. Obviously getting fortunate with the flag, the 15-yard personal foul. So now Metuchen on the opposite side of the field with some momentum. The crowd is cheering late in the half. If they can get into the end zone or at least get some points on the board by the end of the first half, I think that's going to affect their moods and the end and into the beginning of the next half. And I think it will positively affect Metuchen as long as they can get some points on the board here.
So, for everybody tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Eddie Kalegi and Ike Bush here on the Bulldog Report. Metuchen and South River. The Rams just got on the board on their last drive after a Andrew Antaporta fumble gave them the ball at the 10-yard line. It ended up being a 12-yard rushing touchdown for DeAndre Morris. And the Rams currently hold 7-0 lead. South River at 2-1. Metuchen coming in at 0-3. Metuchen rolls out right. Looking for space. He's going to fire. That one's going to be caught. Taken in by Aiden O'Leary inside the 10. And Metuchen is in business and still have 1:16 on the clock. And in 45 seconds, Metuchen has gone 60 yards down the field.
What a throw by Steven Metuchen. But this is where they start to struggle in the red zone. In towards the end zone. What do they do now? They have trouble trying to find what they have to do because as soon as South River decides that Metuchen will run the ball, they stick to that. And when Metuchen runs the ball, when South River is expecting them to, they go almost nowhere. And in last case, it was a fumble. So they have to find some outside of the box thinking. Maybe you run the jet sweep again. Maybe you do a little screen pass. But Metuchen needs to get these points on the board. Now they have more than enough time to get into the end zone inside of the 10.
So no more timeouts, but still 1:16 on the clock. So a lot of time. This drive, they have not handed it to a running back. Perillo has a carry. Metuchen's taken a direct snap and taken it forwards for a few yards. Aside from that, it's been through the air, where Metuchen, just like the last time he faced off with South River, something about this Rams defense, he's just been able to kind of see right through. What will Metuchen do? Perillo comes in motion. It's going to be a jet sweep. Perillo gets a block, works left, down near the 5, heading towards the pylon, taken out just near the goal line, and it looks like it's going to go right to the 1. Perillo is shaken up. Perillo got drilled there, got taken out on the legs, and he is down and he is hurt. And the Bulldogs star is hurt after taking the ball to the 1-yard line.
That's such a tough sight to see, especially Perillo, who's been doing so much for this team, literally playing running back, wide receiver. He's on the defensive side. He could do it all, and this is a really crucial injury. Let's hope he's okay. Perillo out there, he is standing, so that's a good sign, but let's just hope Perillo isn't injured too badly. He seems at least okay for now, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's off of the field this next play. I'm sure he will be.
Athletic Director John Cathcart came out along with the trainers to check on him. Might have just gotten the wind knocked out of him. I mean, he took a helmet at full speed right to his knee to flip him down. But he did the job. Ball is at the 1-yard line. That also stopped the clock. So it's second down at the 1. Metuchen pushes the pile towards the end zone. Touchdown, Bulldogs! Steven Metuchen with the keeper in the end zone. And Metuchen with an extra point can tie the game with a minute to go in the first half.
You had to expect that play if you're South River. I think that was a tough call there for them. I think I must expect the run up the middle by Metuchen worked last time. I did not think they would give it to Antaporta after fumbling the ball last time. So you have to see those things and expect the run over the middle, which I fully expected to see Metuchen run that right up the middle now. And the Bulldogs now, they'll leave the offense out to try to get the 2-point conversion, and they're going big or going home here, going for the 2-point conversion to take the lead over the South River Rams.
Fans going crazy. Perillo back on the field now. The new tradition here, the fire truck parked over there, had the siren and the horn going to celebrate the touchdown. But now this is key. Can the Bulldogs take the lead? Like we said, there's been questions about their kicking game, and they're not going to risk that. They think it's better to do that, and now, I don't know how they're lining this up. It's like that Indianapolis Colts play with Pat McAfee a few years ago. I don't know if they're trying to draw them off sides. Now there's a flag on the field.
Coaches don't seem thrilled on the Metuchen side. It's definitely a false start, And yes, it is a false start on Metuchen. So they're going to be pinned a little bit further deep. I think at this point, you just have to hit that PAT and tie the game up. But I think they'll leave this offense out. We'll see what they do.
So the strategy I saw there, they were trying to draw them off sides to try to get half the distance to the goal, I believe, to see if they could maybe do a quarterback sneak, which is the one thing that the South River defense has not been able to stop today. So interesting strategy. Now Metuchen seems to be confused about what exactly the call is here. They do have Balesta, who's been the kicker on the field, but I think they're going to go for it here because they've got all the other offensive specialists out there.
So now back to the normal formation. I'm not sure what they were doing there, and it definitely threw them off, which ended up causing the false start.
All kinds of confusion. Metuchen's going to roll out. The pressure breaks down. He throws. He flicks it. It's Antiporta who gets smacked short. What a tackle right there. Open field for South River. That's Marcus Granadero, their leading tackler, but now might have been doing some taunting. Now Antiporta is hurt from Metuchen as he took exact same type of hit as Perillo. So a flag on the field.
And I think this one's going to be called back. It looks like it's going to be on South River, but highly unfortunate. Again, Antiporta down this time, a lot less responsive than A.J. Perillo was. All the players taking a knee on both sides of the field.
And man, Antiporta caught that. First of all, that was a great throw by Metuchen because the offensive line completely caved there. He had to move out to the right, got the screen off just in the nick of time, and then Antiporta just got completely laid out there by Marcus Granadero. 25 tackles. He's the leading tackler, senior nose tackle and middle linebacker on this Rams team. But doesn't look very good for Antiporta right now. This Metuchen team, it's been fortunate to not have many injuries this year. This is a Bulldog program that has been decimated by injuries in recent years. In fact, Metuchen got his first chance at quarterback because the old quarterback, Will Haranich, had been injured and he got the chance. And of course, this Bulldogs team, whose roster dropped down to as few as 16 active players in the last year under Coach Mike Warnock, have risen things since, but injury is always a question, especially when, let's be honest, you're going against a team that you're a bit undersized from, and Andrew Antiporta has not really moved very much since going down. Now he's going to sit up, which is good to see. Antiporta, one of their key running backs, 14 carries, 32 yards, and a touchdown going into this season. Looked like he tried to stand up. We'll see if they might be bringing the card out for him, or if he's going to be able to get up. They are going to get him up. Seems to be very ginger on putting weight on his right leg. I think he got hit in the knee, in the right knee. And it looks like he's going to try to walk this one off on his own power. So that is a great sign. So 2 injury scares on basically the same type of play on a defensive player lowering the head using the crown of the helmet on the knee, which first of all, of course, is a dangerous play on the defensive side. But Antiporta, fortunate to see him walking off, but definitely a little worse than what we saw for Perillo a couple plays earlier. And now we'll see what the call is, because a flag also came in. Granadero was a bit excessive on the celebration. We'll see if that might be something that's tacked on at the end of the kick. I don't think we're going to see another attempt in a 2-point conversion, so I think we're going to stay at 7-6, and that's exactly what will be happening here. The ref's giving Coach Jensen an explanation, but Metuchen did not convert, but they did score the touchdown. So they're only down 1, 1:04 to go, and in a game that was moving very slowly, very quickly, it has dramatically slowed down in the last 2 minutes of game action. So the Bulldogs will kick it off. They're all the way at the South River 45. It was an excessive celebration penalty against Marcus Granadero, I believe, that now pushes the kick back, and Metuchen will fire away. Lepore and Ferreira, it's an onside kick. That one gets down. Metuchen didn't really go very strong there at that ball, and it's secured by South River. A little bit of a squib / onside kick. We're just seeing a lot of weird play calls here from both teams. And anyway, South River will have the ball, looking to extend their lead with 1 minute and 1 second to go here in the first half, up by 1.
Pretty much the exact same kick we saw from South River Metuchen's way, which was fumbled by the first guy and jumped on by the second one. But they will get their start of their drive towards their own 30-yard line, just at the 29-yard line. So South River, a lot more of an explosive offense than Metuchen's. They have a lot more of they have a better O-line and causing a lot more holes, as I've said all game, for the running back Morris to get. But we'll see if they go conservative or they try to get aggressive for another score here late in the half.
So Perillo's all right. He's back on the field. Antiporto is currently sitting down, not in on this defensive set. DeAndre Morris taken down. A nice tackle there. Getting in for Metuchen was Tommy Jursic, the senior defensive lineman. Clock continues to tick, just one timeout remaining. And I'm wondering if the Rams are really going to risk things as the clock continues to run. But you never know. This is a team that's already pulled out a flea flicker and a fake punt in this game. So you never know. But the clock continues to run. Still a timeout on the board for South River as we approach 30 seconds remaining in the half. So DeAndre Morris has a touchdown for South River. Then Metuchen, a 2-yard rushing touchdown of his own. As the clock ticks down to 17 seconds, they're going to snap it one more time. No flea flicker here, but Ferreira gets some open space. He's going up the sidelines. Metuchen's got to try to take him down, and they do. But they're going to get out of bounds, and that's going to stop the clock with 7 seconds left. And how deflating would this be if Metuchen allows something here? 7 seconds, time for a play, and they've worked it into Metuchen territory.
That was an unacceptable play for Metuchen, but yet acceptable considering the yard position they were at. So Metuchen could afford things like that. With 7 seconds left, they have to play conservative defense. I'm not sure if South River will try to get the ball out of bounds. They do have one timeout left. They might have time to run a quick play, get the yardage they need to set up an easier field goal, or they might just try to go all in and try to go for the end zone here. We'll see what they do. It depends on your play style calling here. Play call style here.
Out of your picture now, but Antiporto is with the trainer, Hannah Thomas. 7 seconds. Kurtz drops back. Going to be looking for the Hail Mary. He's going to send it deep towards the end zone. Metuchen, did he catch that? Is that an interception to end the half? Stephen Metuchen, one-handed catch, looking like Odell Beckham Jr. there. Stephen Metuchen ends a crazy half with an interception. What a first half of play, and Metuchen has a shot here against South River, trying to end that 15-game losing streak. What an end to the first half for the Dogs, recovering from the turnover. 7-6 your scores. We head to the break, Ike. What a crazy last 2 minutes of the second quarter.
You gotta love that, and even that pick was very bold of him. I mean, usually on those types of plays, when Metuchen especially going towards the ground, knowing he doesn't have the chance to make the pick and run it back, usually you'll just see a swat down. So that was, he put his hand up, which could have put the ball back up into play. And then we've seen deflections that have went South River's way today. So that was risky, but he did bring down a very entertaining and amazing, spectacular catch in the corner of the end zone. Very, as you said, Odell Beckham Jr. there.
So we've got one-handed interceptions, fake punts, flea flickers, all of that happening in the first half, and we've got a close game. So we'll be stepping off for now. Halftime, of course, the marching band and such performing. So stay with us here on the Bulldog Report. We'll be back in the second half. Ike Bush will take over the play-by-play. I'll switch to the color commentary. But at the break, South River leads Metuchen 7-6. We'll be back for the second half right here on the Bulldog Report. back here at Metuchen High School between the Bulldogs and the South River Rams. Metuchen trailing 7-6 as we start the second half. Of course, it's a big week coming up, Whiteout Week, the week of lights and homecoming. A couple of senior night games, girls soccer senior night Monday, field hockey on Tuesday. Boys soccer plays on Wednesday. Their senior night is Friday, along with a girls soccer game against Wardlaw, and it all culminates next Saturday night. Football, Saturday Night Lights between the Bulldogs and their rival Spotswood Rams. Metuchen trailing by 1 after a wild ending to the second quarter, which ended with an Odell Beckham-esque interception by Stephen Mialishin. But now I'll be turning over the play-by-play duties to Ike Bush.
And as you said, Eddie, it's Ike Bush, and what a spectacular first half it was by both squads. Metuchen Bulldogs and the South River Rams both displaying their best football, I think. Mostly, I want to talk about that Bulldog defense. What did you see in that defense that was good from the Bulldogs?
Top to bottom, that defense, the secondary is, like I mentioned earlier, containing. But the defensive line, I know they've had some trouble against the run on occasions, but they're able to contain it at times. They're not giving Ryan Kurtz much time. Occasionally, we'll see Cadilla bust through and make a big stop. And the most important thing, South River only has 7 points on the board, which I don't think any of us saw coming. And Metuchen's still in this game.
Well put, as you said, it's 7-6 South River. They lead, and what was expected to not be this close. It's a 1-point game, and Metuchen will be kicking off to South River. The Rams will get the ball to open up the second half. And Metuchen's kicks have been questionable today. One was deflected off of a return man and deflected towards another guy. It happened on both sides on consecutive drives for both teams. So it is second half football from the Brady Borough. The Bulldogs will kick off from their own 40-yard line. It's Patrick Miller. And we are back underway here from the Brady Borough. A line drive, and this one's taken out near the halfway mark of the field, just about at, say, the 48-yard line. And that was Elijah Abbas Sharif on there.
And Ike, what I noticed there, I mean, that was a hard kick. I'm surprised that Abbas Sharif was even able to hang on to that one, because that was literally right at him. Secured it and got them in solid field position right near midfield.
Line drive right at Elijah Abbas Sharif, and he takes it for a solid gain from the 49-yard line. They'll start their drive. So the Bulldogs set out with a one deep safety. It looks like it's Aiden O'Leary. The offense on a 4-wide set and one in the backfield. And, of course, that's DeAndre Morris with a great first half. So, start of the second half is underway. Sends one in motion. This is a fumbled ball. It's taken. The Bulldogs will get possession. And on the opposite side of the field, this is the second fumble by South River today on the process of the snap. What do you think about that, Eddie?
Well, and again, it's Aiden Holloway who gets there. I am baffled by South River, just so much sloppy play today. We saw the fumble on their first drive, and we see it again right here. I mean, and it's been on these jet sweeps. We've seen them try trickery today, but guess what? The fake punt didn't work. The flea flicker didn't work. I know it almost did, but every time they're trying something kind of fool the Metuchen defense, they end up doing more harm than good. So you really wonder how Marchese's going to change things heading to the next drive. But the Bulldogs now got a huge break.
Exactly, a huge break, and it looked like it went through one of the offense and down to the defense. It was Holloway that jumped on it, and they'll get the turnover. So the first snap is rolling out. Stephen Mialishin finds a hole. He'll juke his way for about a yard or two. But the point of that play was not really the yardage gain. It was mostly the fact that he was able to juke a few defenders, but he is down. It's Stephen Mialishin. Clock will stop at 11:36. Their star quarterback down on the field.
And that is not good. We've already seen A.J. Perillo banged up, then Antaporta, who is back in the game, but Mialishin is down. And I don't exactly know who the backup quarterback is. They used Sadovsky a little bit and Matthew Flood in, late game scenarios when it was blowouts last year, but Mialishin is hurt. Coach Jensen's going to make his way out, and we've already seen Perillo down, and that was a scare, and it's gone silent here in Metuchen as their senior quarterback is down on the far side of the field.
Yeah, and I'm quite sure it's Ben Richards, the backup, the junior, but also John Ballesta, an option.
And it looks like it's John Ballesta warming up, taking snaps from the 50-yard line on the side as Steven will get up. You gotta hope it's a similar injury to the last two. Perillo and Antaporta both injured. Took a little bit of the time of the game, but ended up being fine, and they're both back in the game at this point. But of course, they both did have halftime to heal. So now we got a limping but semi-fine Stephen Metuchen, who will be carried off the field. I think Ballesta will take control of a few snaps. We'll see, though, what they do with this offensive idea.
It looked like he was grabbing at his ribs a little bit. I think he took a shot, maybe a helmet to the chest, and that's what we're seeing. I mean, Metuchen is undersized in a lot of ways, and we're seeing it over and over again where players are taking some big hits. So now, heavy responsibility on John Ballesta.
Yeah, just a sophomore, and Ballesta will take some snaps. It looks like a false start by the offense. That will set them back 5 yards back, pinning them to their own side of the field. Let's talk a little bit about Ballesta. A quick guy. He plays some running back, some wide receiver, does it all. Plays some defensive back as well for the Bulldogs. So he does a lot, and he's a quick, mobile type of guy. Plays QB, and he'll probably be the go-to guy when Stephen Metuchen goes to college next year.
No retirement yet for Metuchen.
Retires from the high school. That's
But Metuchen is on the sidelines right now. He's standing next to Coach Jensen with the helmet on, so maybe he got the wind knocked out of him a little bit because that was a big hit. But they got to be hopeful that he can come in.
A direct snap to Perillo. He'll take it himself. I think that's about 5 or 6 yards for Perillo, and once again getting that positive yardage. He's down but helped up. A.J. Perillo been getting some runs, getting some receptions, and here it is. It's Stephen Metuchen running back onto the field. That will probably do it for John Ballesta's duty on the field.
One false start and one direct snap, so nothing much there for Ballesta at quarterback. But you see Metuchen, Perillo, Antaporta. Perillo's now the one limping and hobbling. I mean, this team's just getting banged up. They're going to love when the time runs out and they can rest up for the Spotswood game.
That's right. Now we got 2 wide, 2 back. It's Ballesta at fullback, and a nice block by Antaporta will give Metuchen some time to roll out. A man on. They'll take him down 3-on-1. It's going to set up 4th down and just about 11, and they're pinned back in their own area now.
It looked like the junior, that might have been Jacob Manley, who ran into some trouble there trying to block the defense, and it looked like Colbert and a few others got through. Metuchen again had to roll out right, made something happen, but unfortunately it's going to be a 4th down here for the Dogs.
So Metuchen's star guy looking over to the sideline gets the play. There's one back, and of course the returner is Jeffrey Ferreira, and he had a solid return earlier. He also plays safety and outside linebacker. Haven't seen much from him on the defensive side, but his punt returns have been nice. The kick is blocked, and the punt will be recovered, and it's by South River. It looks like Jordan Crawford on the recovery. Not sure who got the block, but it was a combination of 2 guys on the outside. And they're going to get the ball in deep in Metuchen's end, looking like just inside of the 25-yard line, about the 24-yard line. South River's struggling offense will trot back out.
Like the offensive line just completely caved in right there. 2 really bad looks in a row for the Metuchen O-line. I mean, you got to give your punter at least a second to get it off. He had 3 players coming at him. Really can't fault Ballesta there. I mean, he had no opportunity to get that free. And again, these 2 teams just keep making mistakes, and they seem like they're helping each other out, but still a stalemate at a 7-6 game.
It's quite a sloppy game. Next week, it will be South River taking on St. Thomas, a really good team. So they might be looking ahead towards that a little bit. This one's a run just about a yard. He'll power his way through. It's DeAndre Morris on the run.
Yeah, DeAndre Morris, we talked about him in the first half. Really, really strong game so far for him. Has that 1 touchdown, and Metuchen has just not been able to stop him. Right there, though, the hole's closed, and he really didn't have any options. So the defensive line for Metuchen has to lock down when they see the ball going to number 2.
Exactly. And that one looked a little bit more like Powerball. For the first time we've seen from DeAndre Morris, he's more of a hole finder, an elusive guy, a juker. And this time he powers his way and gets those yardage. Gotta love what you're seeing from number 2, Morris, with a really nice run there. Just to take what he could get, just about a yard or 2. It was nicer than it appeared on the stat sheet. Now we got one in the backfield, 2 wide on the right side running a twin set. This one's a toss towards the outside and in towards the corner of the end zone, but he'll be brought down inside of the 10-yard line. A really nice run to the outside, and they're going to get this one, as I said, inside the 10-yard line. And it's Jahad Bright with the run.
Like we talked about, Jahad Bright on the depth chart is listed as a wide receiver and a quarterback, but then they want that explosive play and the speed. They turn to the 5'11 junior. He did it right there. And against South River, now with a chance to score and try to add on to that lead.
Well, I like what I've been seeing from Jahad Bright, mostly on the defensive side. He plays cornerback and did swat away a very good pass by Metuchen, trying to fit into a tight hole. But now he's also doing his role on the offense, too, with a nice run to get them even closer into the red zone and closer to that end zone.
Watch Ferreira wide left there.
And that will get him a run, shifted, he's into the end zone. It's a touchdown, Rams. South River extends their one-point lead. It's now going to be a 7-point as they set up for the point after. A really nice run, and who but DeAndre Morris to get the touchdown and the 6 for the Rams.
Yeah, DeAndre Morris, like I said, found a hole, and like we've said, he takes advantage when he finds space, and he did it right there, navigates his way into the end zone. Now what I'm wondering, do they kick it or do they go for 2? Because if they go for 2, you've got a 2-possession lead. And even if you fail, you know Metuchen's likely not kicking an extra point. But it looks like they're going to line up for the kick to try to get this to an 8-point game.
That's right. They're going to go to their consistent kicker, David Wilson, to hit the point after. And it will split the uprights for the extra point. So it's still a 1-possession game. And South River leads 14-6.
All right, folks, time for today's
Now, the real question, Ike, now is about the stamina for this Metuchen team, because we've seen Metuchen get hurt, Perillo, and Porta. This is a team that can tire out when you get to the second half of a game, just having to fight. They fought well in the first half. Question is, how do you respond after this touchdown? This is still a reasonable game, an 8-point game. They need to try to have a long drive here, work down the field, and get some points.
Yeah, they need to get down the field, and they need to get those points, as you said. Even if they don't solve the whole problem, even if they don't get those 8 to tie up the game, I think they need whatever points they can get, because they got a lot of football to go. So the Bulldogs have to score on this drive if they want a big chance at a comeback or a lead late on in the game. So the Bulldogs are going to look to return the kick, and now they're down by 8, off to a very strong start earlier by returning by getting the ball on a turnover from the first play on a fumble, but they weren't able to do much on the offensive side, and South River ends up scoring a touchdown on their second drive. So it's going to be a kick. It's Perillo back there, along with Holloway, both the 2 receivers that are the most crucial for the Dogs. This one's a line drive shot, bouncing harshly, and it looked like John Ballesta diving on that. Not quite sure. It is John Ballesta to get the ball.
Something I've noticed, this is like, a lot of times we're seeing squib kicks in these kickoffs as they're trying to force fumbles. Ballesta had the chance there if he picked it up to run and maybe get some yardage, but I feel like Metuchen is in a spot now. They don't want to make any more mistakes. And I feel like at this point, 2 really sloppy teams throughout this game. Whoever makes the least mistakes likely is going to be the team that works out of this with a win.
Right, exactly. And I wouldn't even be surprised if it's, the last team to have the ball in this game wins the game. That's how tight this is from the Brainy Burrow. A shocking performance and a great performance by Metuchen so far. A big drive here as Metuchen's in the backfield with Porta. So 4 wide, one's in motion, it's Perillo, a fake handoff. He'll take it himself, just about 2 yards Metuchen gets, and he'll make his way past the 35.
Yeah, that was a nice play by Metuchen. Perillo came over on the jet sweep, and typically he gets it when they do that, but this time Metuchen kind of surprised them. Now you see Metuchen moving around his left arm a little bit, so he's just taken a beating today, and that's what you get. That's the risk you run when you have a mobile quarterback, because you rely on them to carry the load, and typically they're not built the same way as a running back who's usually a little more inclined to absorb hits. Metuchen's taken a lot today, and you wonder if that's going to throw off his passing accuracy as they try to go to the air later in this game.
That's exactly right, and that's their priority, to make sure he's on his A game for the passing. He drops back from the shotgun formation, hits
His big guy, of course, it's A.J. Perillo, but he won't get as much as he originally did. He gets set back. They're going to mark him from where he made the reception, which is at the 40-yard line. Perillo with the haul in, and a nice throw from Metuchen. It's going to be a 3rd and 5.
Honestly, a pretty generous spot there because it looked like he kind of never really set his feet when he got at the 40. Kind of got pushed back in the air to about the 38, but it's going to be a 3rd down. Metuchen hasn't been as solid on 3rd down as they have been in past games. Let's see what they do here if they go with a run or a pass.
I will say this is a huge play for Metuchen from their 40-yard line. Need to get out to the 45. It can be done. Shotgun formation. It's Metuchen that drops back. He'll hit Perillo, who's going to make the run towards the middle of the field. He splits it going past half field to the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Touchdown Bulldogs.
And Ike, did you see the block right there from Aiden O'Leary? He laid out the junior Andrew Stafaro, who was the last resort right there for South River. We see some debate. The flag's running around. There are coaches on the field hoping for an illegal block in the back. Now we're wondering if there's a flag on the play, and unfortunately there's a chance this might get called back. Looks like Metuchen is in disbelief right now. Boos raining out across MHS Stadium, and this might get called back despite an amazing run by Perillo.
Well, I mean, he could do it all. The way he was blazing down, and he gave that team such hope. And, of course, he's not off the squad, so he's going to do that as long as he is on the field. They're going to get negative, I think, 5 yards from the foul. But once again, you got to keep in mind this is 3rd down. So, of course, they were in a very ideal scenario just a few seconds ago. But now they're back all the way from the 40-yard line. So they'll be spotted right where they were earlier. The Bulldogs now have a 3rd down and 5 from the 40-yard line.
That's frustrating because, honestly, if you really go back and look at that play, the O'Leary block, the complete blindside block, wasn't necessary. He could have held him up a little bit. It was flashy and cool to see. He completely laid out Andrew Stafaro, but, I mean, it is a good call. He did not see that coming. He just obliterated him.
Absolutely. It was a really nice block if you're counting out the foul, and the flag was called. He was caught for doing so. We'll see what they do here on 3rd and 5. He drops back. Fake throw. He'll hit him deep. It's Holloway, I think. No. What a catch, and that's Aiden Holloway, of course, and that's his specialty. We've seen Holloway down the sideline on floaters down the sideline. A huge reception from Aiden Holloway, and a huge reception and 1st down. A brilliant throw from the senior quarterback, Stephen Metuchen.
And Ike, that was the exact same play. You had a wide right. You had Perillo come over on a little of a rollout action. They could have thrown a bubble screen to him just like they did in the last play. Instead, completely fools the defense, goes for the deep ball. Holloway had his defensive back beat. Excellent catch. And now Metuchen is actually deep in South River territory.
You absolutely have to love that if you're a Metuchen fan, to see that after such a blow from that flag that was thrown on the field. So it's Metuchen dropping back. He'll hit the jet sweep. It, of course, is A.J. Perillo, who, the speedy guy, will get just inside the red zone into the 25-yard line, or not quite the red zone yet, but he's signaling for a face mask. The flag is against Metuchen, though, so once again, set back after a solid play, Eddie.
And this is what's going to cost Metuchen here. I mean, you're playing well. Metuchen has been remarkably accurate throwing the ball today. I mean, this is one of the best, honestly, I've seen from the quarterback, even after taking all these hits and just taking a constant beating throughout this game. But just these penalties are just going to keep adding up, and you can't afford to keep getting pushed further and further back. As much as we've seen some Metuchen magic in this drive, that's not going to last against the South River defense.
That is exactly right. Stephen Metuchen has been so versatile and so unable to be caught today, whether it's through the run or through the pass. His runs have gone for 2 or 3 yards, all that they've needed to, and his passing has been on point. So a very good game and very nice start from him. As we talk about the run, he'll take it himself around the outside, juking a few, and he'll be hauled down. And a really nice tackle there by Jeffrey Ferreira. And I think they're going to spot him down just about a yard past where the line of scrimmage was on the last play. But a lot of juke and a lot of running, but not a lot of north-south from Steven.
Yeah, but you know what? That was an impressive play by the defense because they looked very confused about who was supposed to cover who. It looked like Ferreira and Abbas Sharif, but they got lucky. Metuchen didn't have the best scheming there. The offensive line wasn't really set the way it should have been, and the pressure came, and Metuchen, all those little dances back and forth are all fine and dandy, but you got to cut up field a little bit, and he wasn't able to do that there.
Exactly, and Metuchen Bulldogs are doing a lot better at blocking. Daquan Colbert, who was a big guy earlier. The ball comes loose on the snap, and it looks like a pile. I thought Metuchen was on the bottom, and not a good play there for Metuchen. Another negative yardage play. They'll jump on the ball, but they're going to be set back at their opposing 40-yard line, so they'll get the ball. But at what cost? They are still getting negative yardage, and Metuchen will call their first time out of the half after just a disastrous few plays.
This has just been crazy. It's going back and forth between a really good play and just an embarrassingly bad play. This has to be the third low snap or snap that Metuchen couldn't handle that we've seen in this game. It's got to be frustrating for Coach Jensen, who, works very hard on making sure you don't beat yourself. You control the mistakes. You stay clean. And Metuchen is just beating themselves today with the penalties, with these fumbles, with other mistakes, and it's got to be frustrating from a coaching side of things. And they keep putting themselves in holes like this, and now they have to try to convert another 3rd and long.
That's well said. We've seen a lot of sloppy play. And for a coach and an organization that focuses so much, and a program that focuses so much on being, not beating yourself, as you said, Metuchen is beating themselves. If they didn't make that illegal block, could have got a touchdown. The flags have been a huge problem all day. And as I'm saying this, they're at 3rd and 19, and a lot of it is because of the flags and the sloppy ball handling from both the O-line and the quarterback. Some miscommunications throughout the blue shirts today. So one in the backfield looks like Antaporta. He drops back. Metuchen sensing some pressure, and he's in the backfield. A little shovel pass. I think his arm went through, so it's just going to mark down as an incomplete pass. But it was Andrew Stefaro on the major pressure there, which caused Metuchen to throw not so ideal pass into the ground.
What I'm seeing throughout the second half, the left side of the line keeps caving, and Metuchen is getting chased from his backside repeatedly. And there was able to roll out, but just great coverage downfield by the Rams, and he couldn't find anybody to throw it to, and just had to throw it into the ground.
I think a lot of that is because they have their best blockers on the right side to try to account for guys like Daquan Colbert, who tear them up the entire half. So I'm assuming the Bulldogs are focusing a lot more on that type of guy, a big guy that will get to you and stuff a run, and they're focusing their better blockers on him. And to the left side, Metuchen sensing a lot of pressure, especially through this half. Here's the punt, and a really nice punt for Ballesta. This one's going to roll. It's going to stop at the 1. Couldn't have been better. It stops on the goal line. A perfect punt from the Bulldogs.
Down at the 1.
Metuchen almost messed that up because they let that keep rolling and rolling, but they are literally inside the 1. Ballesta, we talked about the struggles on his first punt, but his last 2 have been really good. The other good thing that Metuchen did there, they had 3 players there to protect Ballesta, to protect any sort of pressure so he wouldn't have another blocked punt.
Of course, the block punt last time. Ballesta, who has seen some quarterback opportunities today after Metuchen came out for a few plays, he makes a perfect punt. Now you got to think the D-line's going to push their way up as much as they can to try to get the safety, which will account for the 2-point conversion that they will no longer have to get if they make this stop. So if they're able to get a safety here, they'll get 2 points and the ball back. It will make it a 6-point game, but of course they're going to have to stop a shifty running back.
Trying to stack the line.
The run, and they're going to signal a safety. It's 2 points in favor of the blue shirts. The Bulldogs will get 2 points, and of course the ball back. With 3:44 remaining in the third quarter, looked like they run commit and were settling on a run, a much anticipated run from South River's offense. It's now a 14 to 8-point game, and they'll get the ball back, and it will be from a punt. So they're going to have solid yardage on the punt.
And you talked about it. They get the ball back here. That is huge. I have no idea. You have DeAndre Morris there, who's been able to make juke moves. Why try to run him right up the middle when we know Metuchen has a pretty relentless defensive line led by Rocco Dagan and Luke Cadilla? A lot of questions that I've had about some of these decisions here from both coaches here in the third quarter. But Metuchen gets a huge break there, gets the safety. In essence, this completely makes up for getting stopped in the attempted two-point conversion for Antiporta. And now they get the ball back. 3:44 left in the third quarter. There was a lot of time for this team. Also, the free kick here and the safety now. Let's see how good this kick really is and if Metuchen can get themselves a decent field position.
So Metuchen with major momentum here in the Brainy Borough. The blue fans, everyone in the stands instructed to wear blue before today's game, and as a result, a lot of blue in the crowd today, so they're all supporting the Bulldogs, who are looking very good, at least on that last play and this last pass drive. A really good punt from John Balesta was the result of that safety, and a really good stuff on the run, which stopped them in their own end zone. A really nice kick will be taken, and Aiden, oh no, it looks like Rocco Dagan on it. Oh, sorry, Aiden Holloway, who refuses to go down. They're stuffing, he still doesn't go down. Aiden Holloway, who's been a very, very important wide receiver for the Bulldogs today, will take the kick just about a few yards, about 2 or 3 yards for the Bulldogs. Just a short gain, but they're still on their own end. But with this momentum, who knows what the Bulldogs will do?
And you know, this is great field position, but also Holloway's contributions cannot be understated today. He's stayed healthy. He's been impactful on both sides of the ball. And when we've seen Perillo and Metuchen and Antiporta all a little dinged up, Holloway has stayed in there, taken the brunt of these blows, and has looked great on the defensive side and has made a couple of big catches as well.
Gotta love Holloway lately, just playing so well down the line, making those catches. His specialty, of course, a touchdown as a result in their last home game from that play. This one's dumped off in a little jet sweep. Looked like Perillo went down, but the ball came loose while he was on the ground. It's scooped up by South River, but no effect besides just a few yards for Metuchen. Positive yardage for the Bulldogs, as they'll just get 4 yards from that jet sweep, which has really been their best play all season. That jet sweep to Perillo, unexpected. When you got a power guy in the backfield like Antiporta, you have to anticipate the runs. The linebackers are sit towards the middle of the field waiting for that run up the middle from Antiporta, or even a toss. But when you see him in motion, AJ comes around the outside and gets some nice runs around the outside. We saw that touchdown, which ended up getting called back earlier. So Stephen Metuchen takes it in the shotgun formation. He'll throw it towards the side. It's Aiden Holloway, of course, on the nice reception, just short of the first down, we think. And it's going to set up a 3rd and inches from the 48-yard line. Oh, it looks like they're going to move the chains. A little bit of misunderstanding here on the field, but he is short of the first down. So it's from the 48-yard line. The Bulldogs, Eddie, have the ball.
And now they are going to signal that was a first down. But I want to talk about that catch by Aiden Holloway. He did a little stutter step move on Davin Wilson, the corner in coverage, and was able to get free and was able to get up there and grab that ball. Holloway, I know he's known for beating around down there, but he's also got a lot of speed and versatility as well.
And against a team that's a lot bigger than them, they're putting up a big fight. Another run from Steven, who gets positive yardage on the keeper, but not much positive yardage, but enough for them to set up a few more plays. I think he gets past the 50-yard line. So the way this offense is moving, expect a first down on every single play. It's looking really good from this offense, and with 1:58 ticks to go in the third quarter, it's 2nd and 9, and the Bulldogs have the ball.
And as much as we've been concerned about Metuchen, with their run defense, South River has not looked much better, especially here in this third quarter. They just can't stop anybody, it seems, on the run. I think they're starting to tire out a little bit, despite having the size advantage.
That's a good point. 4 wide here. Along the outside, another. It's 80, and Perillo will drop a pass right at his arms. And Perillo's been the top guy the entire day, and really the entire season. We've seen things from him that we don't see from any other players on the team. Runs, sweeps, tosses, direct snaps, flea flickers, and more. And on the defensive side, not even to mention, he's been great as well. So we've seen a lot from A.J. Perillo. What do you think has been his best play and attribute this season?
I think the fact that you can use him as a runner and a pass catcher, almost like Christian McCaffrey out there. He's got 220 total yards this season coming into today, 142 through the air, 78 on the ground. The fact that you can use him in so many ways makes him just such an important piece of this Metuchen team.
Christian McCaffrey is right, can do it all. Got some receptions, he could run. Here's the drop back, Metuchen fires, it's down the line, and Aiden O'Leary fumbles. It's a dropped pass down the line, right at his arms, but it's gonna set up 4th and 9. Could have been a first down and more.
Oh man, Aiden O'Leary has been so strong today, had that massive block in the last drive, had his safety beat, and had a chance to bring that in, and it just slipped out of his hands. I think he tried to run with it before he had it secured. He's got to be frustrated there, and now this is going to set up a 4th down.
So now the Dogs from the 50-yard line, 4th down. It's going to be a punt by John Balesta, who pinned the Rams in their own zone at the 1-yard line. A perfect and completely ideal punt from the Bulldogs last time. We'll see what they do with 3 blockers once again.
Punting from about the same area, too, but this one's much more airmailed.
This one is way in the air, high. It's going towards the Rams' end zone, but once it starts going the other way, Holloway picks it up. And they're going to be just past the 40-yard line with the ball, and the ref settles it at the 42-yard line. The Rams' offense, once again, coming back out. They had one play for -1 yard and -2 points for them, so they're going to look to change up their scheme here, and they're going to set out the offense and the O-line, which has been very strong all game.
Yeah, and Balesta's a talented punter, but the problem is sometimes, you talked about it earlier with like towing the ball instead of actually getting a strong, full-footed punt. And right there, I think he's trying to get too much air on it. You got to let it roll and let your other special teams players down it.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of flags down. The South River Rams, I can't tell what they're mad at right now. Maybe on themselves, maybe on the refs, and maybe on a missed call. But they are all upset, waving their arms, and step back -5 yards with 1:36 ticks to go in the third quarter. So a good start to the Metuchen's defense, or at least a negative start for South River's offense on the first play. It's going to be 1st and 15 from the 36-yard line on their own side of the M. So they have 4 wide, the strong O-line up on the top. It's Luke Cadilla on the outside, been a big part of this offense today. Oh, a messed up snap. It's going to be hit on a quick throw. It looked like a screen pass, and the pass is complete to the Jihad Bright, who's been such a reliable source on both offense and defense today.
Yeah, Jihad Bright has looked really good, and especially we saw a couple of good runs from him, but again, we've talked about the trouble with the snaps from Metuchen. Again, no different for South River. Ryan Kurtz, multiple occasions, has had trouble handling these snaps, especially when they tried the jet sweeps. They have 2 lost fumbles in this game as well. South River's got to get this under control. What you need at this point, a 6-point game nearing the end of the third quarter. If you're the Rams, you got to be looking for a long drive. You had the run game working in the second quarter. They've kind of got away from it here in the third quarter. You got to try to use DeAndre Morris and your other assets.
Absolutely. So Troy O'Connor, the center, who's messed up a few snaps. This time will be just a little toss to the outside. And, of course, as you called it, Morris will shake a tackle, going negative here. And there's a few Bulldog defenders putting him back even more. He'll get about -5 yards on the play. It took a lot to bring him down. Looked a lot like Derrick Henry on that play, being set back about 5 yards, and a timeout is called on the field.
Looks like
it's an injury
Bulldog.
timeout, yes.
Can't exactly see who it is, but you talked about it. DeAndre Morris, he was shading the tacklers, with using the stiff arm, but like we talked about with Metuchen, sometimes if you're trying to go too much east-west and not actually make progress down the field, it can be frustrating, and it didn't work out right there, and they lose some yardage. It'll be interesting to see what the spot is, but unfortunately for the Bulldogs, a team that has been really ravaged with injuries today, fortunately none have been too serious. Other players down.
Exactly, and as you said earlier, not so much this season, but I think you might have jinxed it. 4 guys have now gone down for the Dogs, and it's all have been, fine in the end. but you can't take advantage of anything because at any point something could snap for this offense and they could lose a crucial player. I'm not sure who is down right now, but both sides lines are on a knee. And with the Bulldog huddle at center field, you just gotta hope that this player is okay and is able to get up and walk off the field by himself.
Yeah, can't see exactly who it is. Could potentially be a cramp or something, but looked like he took a pretty serious hit there. And, of course, Metuchen, their offensive and defensive line, there's been mistakes, but it's been the best they've looked all season. And I think they got to be happy with the performance. But, of course, losing someone like that would not be a good sign for them.
Absolutely. And as you said, they just got knocked in. They might have just got knocked in the shape in their game against Roselle. We are on Bulldog Report. It's Ike Bush with Eddie Kaligi, and it is a tight game, 14-8 in the third quarter. 1:09 to go in the third of 4, and we still have an injured player down on the ground. It's taken a little while, the fourth guy for the Bulldogs to go down today. But this very shallow South River lead is making this a very tight game. And the best performance we've seen all year from the Bulldogs, both offensively and defensively, as you said.
Yeah, definitely. There were many more holes that we saw in the game against Johnson 2 weeks ago than what we've seen today. Of course, the penalties were bad in the first half. Metuchen started to keep it under control, and South River has been hurting themselves a lot more than Johnson did, as the player is still down. So I still can't tell exactly who it is, but hopefully they're all right. And you mentioned it, Metuchen has been getting knocked around today. Four injuries, and this is a long game, too. I mean, we're 2 hours since kickoff, and we're still in the third quarter. So this has been a lengthy game so far here between the Bulldogs and the Rams. And for Metuchen, the thing I worry about watching the Bulldogs is talking about the team tiring out, which has happened on many occasions before. But, as you get further and further into this game, I mean, the sun's beating down. It's not too hot out there, but these players could start to cramp up. And for a Metuchen team that's not used to playing really in these tough games where it's really competitive in the fourth quarter, we haven't seen this lately. Will they be able to keep enduring all the way through?
Yeah, of course, at this stage in the Arthur L. Johnson game against the Crusaders, they were down, but not down by this little. It's a 6-point game. And in the third quarter, the Bulldogs, this game obviously being delayed by the injured player, and we got the trainer out there to try to help out whoever is down. Unfortunately, we are sorry, we cannot figure it out. Looks like AJ Perillo as he sits up, his second time being knocked around today. And how bad would this be if it's more than just a little knock?
Looks like left leg injury for Perillo. Trying to walk off on his own, but I mean, when he took that big hit trying to get into the end zone back at the end of the second quarter, it seemed like they really rushed him back into the game. I don't even think he missed a snap. Of course, rested up a little bit during halftime. I definitely don't think we're going to see him the rest of this defensive drive, and they're going to let him sit and see if they can maybe bring him back into this game. I saw them trying to stretch out the leg. You can hope that maybe it's some sort of a cramp, but when you go down like that and are down for that long and you can see him still stumbling, you wonder if it's some sort of a strain or a pull or something, and that's something that becomes week to week suddenly. So Metuchen definitely can't afford to lose Perillo, but they have had a lot of weapons on offense who have stepped up today, and that's the reason why they're still in contention.
Exactly. Aiden Holloway, as we've talked about earlier. Stephen Mielishin, the best game I've ever seen from him. He's looking great. Probably his best game he's ever had. So it's looking really good for the Bulldogs. But, of course, the A.J. Perillo injury would make it a lot worse. Another snap just wide. And this one's a deep throw from Kurtz. It's deep, and it's caught. He hauls it in, and it's a touchdown Rams on a deep ball. Wow, Joseph Lepore on the touchdown, and 6 for the Rams.
That is crushing for Metuchen. Ryan Kurtz had tons of time back there. Metuchen tried to bring the pressure. The offensive line stood tall. It looked like Cadillo was trying to come in, and Daquan Colbert completely shut him down, and Kurtz just aired it out. That's something that Ryan Kurtz, I'd argue, has, and Metuchen doesn't. Metuchen has the deep ball potential on occasion, but it seems like Ryan Kurtz can be more accurate and has a little bit of a stronger arm. Got that about 50 yards in the air. Lepore got free of the defenders, made the catch, broke a tackle, and is in for 6.
That was a huge play. He broke that ankle tackle and ended up getting in for 6. Never really touched besides that little ankle thin, but now they're going to set up the extra point. Of course, the very reliable David Wilson for the extra point. Wilson also plays wide receiver, cornerback, and he, of course, is their kicker. Knocks that extra point right through the uprights. Been very reliable today, and he's been quite on display today, and he's been one of the biggest factors that Metuchen's been missing. A very good kicker.
Yeah, Metuchen needs to find a kicker. A few years ago, I remember they used to have Dan Fuse when I was, I think, a freshman. That's like 4 years ago now. But ever since then, it's really been kicker by committee. They had Nick Dillon for a while. They just keep switching it around, and unfortunately, they just can't find the right kicker. Ballesta has looked solid as a punter, but there's been some mistakes there as well. So in terms of trying to improve on certain things, the special teams is definitely somewhere that Metuchen has to work on. It's not going to win or lose you games, but in essence, it can really help or hurt your team in terms of scoring points.
That's exactly right, and all they have to do is get the points they can, right? And it's against a defense that's struggling lately against the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs have been driving, and I think, as you said earlier, the Bulldogs are hurting themselves more than the South River is hurting the Bulldogs. We're seeing the Bulldogs, hurt themselves with the amount of flags we've seen, the amount of negative yardage, fumbles, plays of that such. So they're going to have to try to get some positive yardage, and probably ideally quick, as there's just 12 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the entire game. The Bulldogs now down by 2 possessions. It's a 13-score point game, and a fumble again. Ball comes loose a second time, and it's jumped on, but the Bulldogs will get the ball just inside their own 35-yard line after double fumbles, and they're going to get the ball. It looks like it is recovered by Kyle Johnston, the freshman, and his brother on the team as well, Kendall Johnston, who plays D-back as well.
And I mean, from Metuchen, they've looked really good at certain times today, but there are some certain situations that are inexcusably bad. If you have a fumble like that and you have 3 players that converge at the same time, you can't have that ball pop out again. That was nearly a turnover for Metuchen. Fortunately, that freshman Kyle Johnson was able to fall on it. And what I noticed, looks like A.J. Perillo is back on the field after going down for the second time. So looks like he's at least somewhat all right, and he's going to be out there with Holloway as the receivers.
That's definitely a sight for sore eyes of the Bulldog fans, and they're going to send Holloway in motion this time. And Metuchen has the keeper on the option, and he'll just take it about to the 35-yard line. I think he got about 1.5 yards there, maybe 2. And he's going to take it out to the 36-yard line. So it's a 21-8 game here from the Brainy Borough. You're watching the Metuchen versus South River. 4th game for Metuchen of the year. 0-3 start for them. And South River 2-1 this year, looking to get their 3rd win. And the Bulldogs looking to snap their 15-game losing streak. Guy Jensen started off, as you mentioned earlier, 3-2. And then after that, lost 15 in a row. So we're done with the 3rd quarter. This is Ike Bush along with Eddie Kaligi. We'll be back in just a few. We're back. It's Ike Bush with Eddie Kalegi here. It's a 13-point game, sending once again Perillo in motion. Throw over the middle, deflected, and that was a huge opportunity for David Wilson, the kicker as well. And he won't be able to get there. Aiden Holloway, the intended target. It sets up 3rd and 8 from their own zone at the 36-yard line. This is going to be a big play for the Bulldogs, needing this first down on this drive, and they need to score down a 2-possession game.
And Metuchen kind of lollipopped that one a little bit, and the linebacker, Elijah Abbas Sharif, was right there to get a finger on it, and then Wilson almost got it. Just got tipped in the air. But that wasn't really the best spot to be throwing it. I saw about 4 white jerseys and just 1 for Metuchen there. So good coverage by South River. Not the best placement there for Metuchen.
Exactly. One of the very few misreads from Stephen Metuchen. Sends Perillo once again in motion. Hits it to him in the backfield. And wow, this is just going nowhere. But he gets off and he'll get some positive yardage, but certainly not enough to get past the yellow line, the invisible yellow line. It's going to be 4th, and they're going to mark him down at the 36-yard line again. So it was a negative yardage dump pass, but he ends up getting back to the line and nothing more. It's 4th and 8. They are forced to go for it here.
Yeah, this is really the last shot here for Metuchen. 2 timeouts, down by 13, a 4th down. We've seen them hit it big on a couple of plays. I'd watch out for Aiden Holloway. We haven't seen his name called in a bit to see if they can try to get a deep ball going. We'll see what. Actually, it looks like they're going to line up to punt. So Balesta, I saw Metuchen on the field, got a little fooled there. Forgot he plays so many positions, but Balesta's going to punt here.
They must be having high faith in their defense to stop South River. And this one's returned on a solid punt, and he's down the line. A really nice run here from Jeffrey Ferreira. And
Ferreira kind of tripped over one of his own players there.
Exactly. I was just going to say, over his own player, not even really a Metuchen player that brought down Jeffrey. And Ferreira will get inside the 35, just to the 34-yard line. This game is a 2-possession game, but it could easily become a 3-possession game. A field goal certainly won't do it, but a touchdown will make this a 3-possession game. A field goal will make it tough, but not impossible for Metuchen to come back on just 2 possessions. So South River will get the ball from the 35-yard line. O-line sets up the strong guys over on the front. It's Ferreira lined out really wide outside. He'll be covered by John Balesta, and there's a flag on the play. And it looks like it doesn't agree with South River. Maybe too many men on the field, and they're going to be set back a little bit. So 5 yards back, it's 1st and 10.
I'm being honest here, this game's not boding well for either of these teams in terms of the rest of their schedule. Metuchen, of course, playing Spotswood next. South River's got a very tough game against St. Thomas Aquinas. Both these teams just making mistakes with snaps and 12 men on the field. South River's really got to iron this out. Good chance they escape with the win here with this 13-point lead, but it's not been a pretty game for this team by any standards. DeAndre Morris has kind of carried the offensive load. The defense has been iffy, and having to play the Trojans next is going to be a big-time challenge for them, even if they're at home.
Yeah, Eddie, and that's exactly true. They're not playing to their fullest potential, but Metuchen, on the other hand, is playing very well today. Just a little bit sloppy at some points. If they could clean it up, they could have had a lot of opportunities here. The first pass is way over and way too strong for Jeffrey Ferreira, their top wide receiver. And it's going to go soaring over his head. It's going to set up 2nd and 15.
Ike, we're long from the days of Theismann and Drew Pearson here for the South River Rams. I'm interested by some of these play calls because it's very similar. We've seen it quite a few times where it's a dump off from Kurtz back to Ferreira. Sometimes he takes it, and then there was the one time where he actually decided to throw the ball himself on a flea flicker attempt. So it's interesting to see how they're strategizing this.
Yeah, and they set up once again Ferreira very wide outside. Another wide receiver in contention. He's going to be brought down, but shaking a tackle. He's not brought down. He's going to go across the field, and east-west doesn't go well for him. He's brought down. A great tackle. And that looked like Luke Cadilla to bring him down. And Darius Armstrong is brought down for negative yardage, just down 1 yard. It's 4th and 16 from the opposite side of the M. And the big blue M signals that South River's Gonna have third down, and 16 from the 41-yard line. A big play here as Metuchen looking really good on this defensive stand.
Perillo looked like he got a little slow to get up again, but yeah, I mean, that was a great job to elude the first tackle there by Armstrong. We haven't seen his name called much. He has 17 carries this season, a freshman, but just couldn't make anything happen here, and now it's a big 3rd and long.
The big fullback obviously shook a whole bunch of tackles, but failed to go east-west successfully. He drops back, plenty of time and plenty of space. Airs it up to deep, and it's dropped at the corner. It's an incomplete pass, but Metuchen catching a huge break. That could have been a disastrous play, and it could have broke the game open, Eddie.
Ryan Kurtz has one heck of an arm. He's a pocket passer, but when he gets protection, he can absolutely fire it out there, and we saw the big touchdown on the last drive to Joseph Lepore, and there was looking deep to the right, deep far corner of the end zone, but now it's a 4th down and 16. Metuchen's still staying alive in this game, and their defense, even though they're losing, even though they've given up 21 points, you have to be proud of this effort from the defense. I think consistently, even though they've given up more points than the Johnson game, I think this is the best the defense has looked this season.
Absolutely, and they're playing against a better offense as well. That's just not really playing to their full potential. He calls a snap, rolls out, and he's going to hit the punt out of bounds. Really not that great of a punt. They could have really just went for it or tried to punt it up the middle, but they didn't have enough blockers to have enough time to punt it. A mistake Metuchen made earlier, which resulted in a punt block.
Now, what makes it difficult is because Ryan Kurtz, of course, is the quarterback and the punter for this team. In addition, a lot of the players on the special teams are the same that are on offense. So in a situation like that, where you're in the opposing team's half of the field and it could really go either way, it's tough for a defense to really gauge if it's definitively going to be a punt or if they're going to go for it. And Metuchen has seemed a little off balance on each of these punt attempts by Kurtz.
That's right. And you don't know what he's going to do because, of course, even if they pull a fake, you know the arm he has. So it's really a hard thing to do. And for them to send that much pressure on a quarterback that's not that, he doesn't deal with pressure completely well. He's not a great rollout type of guy. He does have a good arm, though. It was a very good job by Metuchen to get in there. So they're going to have the ball now. It's Metuchen from inside the 30-yard line, just past the 25. It's going to be at the 27-yard line. Stephen Metuchen leads his team out for a must-score drive. He drops back from the shotgun formation. He's going to air it out deep. Of course, it's Holloway on there towards the sideline. He drops it. I'm not sure if he was in bounds either way, but that's going to be an incomplete pass anyway for Holloway, who did seem to be double covered by the zone man.
Holloway was begging for a call against Joseph Lepore, but that was a clean play right there from the South River defense. It really went right into the arms of Holloway, but Lepore kind of obscured his vision and he couldn't hang on to it. Great throw by Metuchen on target, but unfortunately they just couldn't convert.
A really nice throw, as you said, but now you have to deal with the fact that it's 2nd down and they're in their own area. They didn't get any yards there, so they have to make up for it. Just having 3 plays, I'd assume they go for it on 4th. So they have about 3 plays, I'd say, to get past that line. And they have to end up getting past that 38-yard line, which is not an easy thing to do against a South River defense that's starting to appear very good today, play very well today. So it's Metuchen in the backfield. It's Antiporta on his right. Just a step to his right is Antiporta, the power guy who fumbled earlier, went down with an injury, but he is back on the field. He'll block number 3. This one's thrown into the open area. No good for Aiden Holloway. It's going to go scooping right into Lepore's hands on a bounce. So it's going to set up 3rd and 10 from the 28-yard line, Eddie.
And those are the overthrows you typically see where Metuchen gets a little frazzled and pressure comes. That time there was no pressure, just didn't really have it accurately, and that's a problem that has really bugged him throughout his 3-year career. Of course, when he's on point, he can be a dangerous quarterback, a former GMC Offensive Player of the Week back in 2019. But other times, Metuchen, if he senses pressure, he'll kind of just fly one out there, and that could be dangerous and can result in a pick. Doesn't burn them there, but now they're on a 3rd down and 10.
That's right, number 11 for the Bulldogs. Stephen Metuchen also plays safety on defense. It's a 3rd down snap to Stephen. He's going to air this one over to A.J. Perillo. They're going to let him take that yardage because he didn't get up to the line. So he'll get some solid yardage. Perillo a little bit slow to get up, limping around. I would just pull him at this point
and give him the play off. But obviously it's not a great time to pull him because it is 4th down, and he is your best player. So it's 4th and 4. Actually about 4th and 2, very close to the first down. And the Dogs might go to the run here, but of course you got to be wary of the clock, which is ticking down.
That's the problem when you depend on a player too much, especially when he's a two-way player when you have a smaller roster. Perillo doesn't really get any breaks, and they depend on him out there every play.
And they're going to power their way forward, but it looks like there was a timeout called before. And it's called by the Dogs, Coach Jensen, their second timeout. They have 1 remaining. Interesting for them because they've used the 2 timeouts out of 3, and they only have 1 remaining. They might need that as they're trailing late in the game. They might need those timeouts to, get the ball back and enable their offense to get the ball later on in the game.
That's true, but the one thing we did see from this team, when they want to work down the field fast, they can. That drive right near the end of the first half, they got the ball with 2 minutes and 1 second left, and they scored with still a minute to spare. So there's still the chance that they can be explosive, but you need healthy receivers, and Perillo being banged up is really thwarting what they want to scheme for on offense. We already saw the one jet sweep they used Holloway instead of Perillo, who doesn't necessarily have the same speed or the same athleticism as Perillo.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Holloway is a very good deep receiver. We've seen him go down that line a lot. That's really their best play with Holloway. His route running is pretty solid too, but they really just see Perillo as the route runner, midfield type of guy, and Holloway is the deep ball guy. Expect Perillo to get the ball here. I mean, you always have to expect that. It's always, and Antaporta will get past for the first down. That will be his first down of the day. Antaporta with a solid run. As they were expecting the pass, Antaporta will take advantage of the space. It's a Bulldog first down, and they'll get out to the 41-yard line. The offense comes back out.
First time we've seen Antaporta really touch the ball since his injury scare, and the attempted 2-point conversion at the end of the second quarter looked fine there and gets the first down, and Metuchen stays alive, but you got to watch that clock. Down 13, just 8 minutes to go.
And that's the pro of having such a good blocking running back. He was able to block. You didn't need to see him that much. They had switched in a bunch of other players. He was blocking for a long time. This throw is into triple coverage, and it gets down. The pass to John Ballesta, the sophomore, is incomplete. John Ballesta found a route there, but it was overthrown by Steven, who's looked a lot less explosive this half than he did in the first half. He was almost flawless in the first half.
I think there's 2 contributions. First of all, the hits we've taken, but also South River's defense has changed a bit. They're not pressuring as much the line. We're seeing more of a quarter look, maybe a little bit of zone defense. They're leaving more defensive backs out there. They're letting the linebackers trickle back, and that's setting up these double and triple coverage situations, not giving Steven many options.
That's a good point because they're expecting the pass, and they want to see that pass. They want to see the run, So they're going to let them have the run, which will drain the clock. He'll roll out. Look at this mobile QB, but he is brought down way in the backfield. It's Jordan Crawford, their best D lineman, and that's going to set down not just 3rd and long, but 3rd and real long as they're down to their own 33-yard line, and that is not ideal for them.
It's actually at the 27. I mean, that's a loss of 14 yards on the play. Metuchen had to just let that ball go. So I mean, you gotta throw it away in a situation like that. He tried to make too much of it, and he's a mobile quarterback, but he's not insanely mobile. There's going to be defenders who are going to keep up with his speed and are able to work back. This isn't Madden where you can run back 50 yards and try to run back the other way. Unfortunately, didn't pay off there for Metuchen, and now they're in a deep hole.
So it's 3rd and 25 for the Dogs, who are having a really tough drive for themselves, but they fake the handoff over to Antaporta along the outside. There's a deep throw, and it's halted! It's A.J. Perillo on a great reception into triple coverage, and it's the great throw there by Steven Metuchen, and he's brought down, and of course, down goes A.J., and he's hurt again for the 3rd time today.
A.J. Perillo I mean, he's channeling his inner Greg Jennings. He's putting the team on his back right now, going out there double and triple coverage. But, I mean, he got walloped. But that was one heck of a catch. Metuchen trying to stay alive in this game. But this is, what, the fourth time we've seen Perillo down with an injury. 6:44 to go. At some point, you got to wonder, Coach Jensen, with the long-term health of one of your key seniors, when do you pull the plug and just pull him out of this game and just let him rest up for next week against Spotswood? We know how much of an impact he has, but it's clear that left leg is bugging him. He took the shot to the knee earlier. It's probably going to swell up with his knee as well when he took that hit from the helmet at the end of the second quarter. Might be dealing with some muscle strains as well as he tried to run and get in front of those defenders, but got to be tough to keep seeing one of your star players down over and over again in this game. But even as all this happens, he keeps making big plays. That was an amazing catch from Perillo, and Metuchen is still chipping away and staying alive in this game.
Yeah, every time you think they're done, they're not. So they keep chipping away. But obviously the very unfortunate bring down of A.J. Perillo, their star receiver and star flex. He is brought down for the third time today. He's really shook up, and this is like the third time, and you have to at some point pull the plug. I think you got to rest him on defense at least for the next drive. As a linebacker, he's a very strong linebacker, but you have to, rest him on defense and leave him for the offense only, if anything. But I mean, right now he's playing a very physical game. He's a wide receiver, a linebacker, so it's not easy to just cut him out of the scheme, especially when you're playing against a bigger team like South River.
So during the stoppage, a quick Big Central score report brought to you by Big Central Gridiron and Greg Macho. Some scores from around the conference last night. East Brunswick took down J.P. Stevens 43-0. St. Joe's took out Piscataway. Woodbridge over North Hunterdon 8-7. Old Bridge a win over Monroe. North Brunswick beats rival New Brunswick by a touchdown. And St. Thomas Aquinas in this 2B division crushed Arthur L. Johnson 46-zip.
Arthur L. Johnson with a crazy game today, I'm sure. Here's the throw. It's deflected and down into the dirt, or the turf now. It's going to be a incomplete pass intended for John Balesta. It's going to be 2nd and 10 from the 42-yard line of the opposing side, South River.
And if you take a look bottom left of your screen, you see A.J. Perillo getting some work done down there. I think it looks like a hamstring issue that he's trying to stretch out. Left hamstring, might have pulled it a little bit. I think it's different than the first injury he suffered when he took the shot to the knee. That was just a hard collision. But the second time he went down, I think it's a hamstring issue. These guys have to be starting to tire out muscle-wise. I mean, we're 2.5 hours into a game. I mean, we're approaching NFL distance, and this is 12-minute quarters, too. It's a shorter game, so they've been out there for a long time.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of stops due to flags and injuries, and here we go. We're back into action. This throw is a little high for Holloway. He'll be brought down. A really, really nice ankle tackle. That was Joseph Lepore, who had the earlier touchdown on the burner over the middle. That got them 6 and really was a huge touchdown. Was the latest score of this game.
Now Holloway's down. I think he twisted his ankle there.
How tough is this?
And this is the danger that this Metuchen team runs into. I mean, being undersized, you risk injuries at this point, and this is a problem that they run into each and every year. And now Aiden Holloway, who's been the Iron Warrior all game long, what it looked like, he spun, and I think the defender still had a grab on his lower leg, and a lot of this I think is just cramping up at this point too, but
yeah.
Might have done something to twist that left ankle, but we've already seen now Antiporta, Perillo 4 separate times, Mialishin, and now Holloway. All 4 of their 4 primary offensive guys all go down with injuries at certain times. Like I said, Metuchen is going to be glad when this one's over so that they can get their players rested up to play under the lights next Saturday night.
That's right. And just realizing Matthew Sadovsky is on the bench. Their tight end is on the bench. It's Cody Cardillo filling in for him. He had the reception earlier. 1 reception for 10 yards is Cardillo. He had a few attempts his way, but an injury is with the lack of depth that Metuchen holds and the undersized players that they have. It's not ideal at all, and it's definitely not good as he comes jumping and limping over to the sideline. The Bulldogs in a tough situation now as the time just continues to flow off the clock. 6:09 to go in the final stages of this one. So they're going to need a quick score and go, and they're going to need that defense to step up major. And as I mentioned earlier, with only one timeout, it's going to be hard to do.
So Balesta's in there, Larson and Perillo, the receivers, as well as Aiden O'Leary.
They hit him on the corner. He makes the toe tap and gets out of bounds.
Nice grab right there by O'Leary. Trying to stay in bounds, was able to keep the footing, just need to get 1 foot in high school football, did the job, and that's a Metuchen first down.
Just like college, only needs to get 1 foot in, but I think he may have went out of his way and got 2 there. Hard to see, though, on the sideline when he was smothered by a defender, and it was a really close call, but nonetheless, he gets a first down and gets out of bounds. So a great play for the Dogs as they get the ball now from the 30-yard line. 30 yards away from getting 6 more points. They trail by 13. It's Ike Bush and Eddie Kalegi on the call. Stephen Michalishin backfield with Antaporta. Michalishin 3 on his left and it's 1 on the right. It's O'Leary who dropped a key pass earlier. This is in the backfield. Not good for Perillo. And it's incomplete. It's going to set up 2nd down and 10.
Michalishin led him a little too much. I think Perillo was expecting a little bit of a screen pass where he wouldn't have to move much, a little bit on a bubble, and Michalishin led him forwards. Perillo wasn't prepared to move on that and resulted in an incompletion. And this long second half continues. Still 5.5 minutes to go, but you got to be happy for this Metuchen team. I mean, they've suffered some, let's be honest, absolute beatdowns over these past 2 years. To still be in contention against a team that they were expected to lose pretty handily to this late in the game, got to give kudos to Coach Guy Jensen and the players out there.
Definitely, the way they've trained after, as you said, getting smacked down by Roselle, 35-0 on the road, a really bad game for them. Here's the throw over the top, and O'Leary looks like he's hit hard as he's hauling the ball in. The ball comes loose. No flag is down, so it's going to set up 3rd and 10. A nice throw from Michalishin finding O'Leary, but O'Leary was unable to haul it in, as it looked like the deep zone safety, Joseph Lepore, again on that. And Lepore's been not just good on defense. Of course, he had the deep ball touchdown earlier, which made this a 21-8 score game.
Yeah, Joseph Lepore is really talented out there. Both these teams, they don't have massive rosters, and they're in those situations as high school teams that need guys to go two-way, but it really doesn't hurt them. They have players that can capitalize. You see even Metuchen, of course, Michalishin a lot of times is back there as a defensive back, and he's one of their top defensive players.
So Michalishin steps back. Michalishin is with 1 in the back. There's 4 wide. Can guarantee they're not running here. It's a throw, and he's hauled in. Balesta, he'll get there just about short, about 2 yards short of the first down. And the clock is running. 5 minutes and 18 seconds to go. It's 4th down and 4. They won't waste the timeout. The ball comes loose on the snap. It's recovered by the Rams. And that will put the icing on the cake. They'll get the ball. It's Jordan Crawford, who's had yet another amazing game for Jordan Crawford. He hops on the ball. They'll get the ball back.
Still 5 minutes to go, but got to be thinking that that might be the crushing blow right there. Unfortunate snap, and it's, like I said from the beginning, it was about Metuchen beating themselves today. They got the penalties under control, which was improvement. Next thing they got to improve on, snaps and special teams. There's been a lot of mistakes on those ends today. There's been so many times where we've seen just bad snaps that Michalishin can't control. Not really his fault, it's just the center not getting good snaps often. Metuchen, when a ball is loose, it seems like they just have sticky fingers and they can't hang on to the ball.
That's right, and they were rushing to get that play. They were trying to avoid to use that timeout. Rolling out, the throw is incomplete. That will stop the clock. A little bit of a shocking play for them to throw when they are ahead by 2 possessions, and a run would just keep draining the clock. But nonetheless, it's 2nd and 10 from their own zone.
Yeah, I have no idea why they're doing that. I mean, there's 5 minutes left in the game. This game's been going on for so long. You got kids, that are really wearing out on both sides. Run the ball, run the clock, and try to run this game out. 2-possession lead, 21-8. I don't understand there. I know you've got a good quarterback in Kurtz. Now it looks like they're going to the eyes, so we'll see if we see a run here.
So they got one in the back. 2 wide. They're running a twin set on the left. Just one defender from the Bulldogs on that area. He'll be stuffed down and brought down just about a yard or two for the gain. And it's going to be 3rd down just like that. So this game isn't over, but it's not going to be easy for the Bulldogs. And they've had trouble making big plays. And the only big plays they've really made have been called back. So they're really going to have to try to improve their big plays and quickly, too.
Like getting a little bit chippy, too. I just saw in that last play, Marcus Granadero and John McGowan went face mask to face mask, and it looked like number 7, Matthew Flood, had to step in and intervene a little bit. There's got to be some mounting frustration for this Bulldog team. This defense that honestly has played so well, and their offense just hasn't been able to pick up the slack yet again. But you know there's got to be some mounting frustration for this Metuchen team. Got to keep it under control here.
So we set up, it's 3rd and 7. They toss it around the outside. The Bulldogs anticipating the inside run will bring them down and just short of the 1st down. So Darius Armstrong is brought down. Maybe South River goes for this, but no need. Maybe just gotta play conservative.
I mean, they should punt this ball away, to be completely honest here, because back at your own 34, you don't want to give Metuchen good field position here. There's still 3.5 minutes on the clock, but very, very confused by the gameplay there by Marchese. Rich Marchese, the coach of South River. A throw, a run up the middle, and then a toss play. Not really good when you're trying to run the clock down.
I agree, and I think that throw play was the worst one because, you know, the time right now would be 30 seconds, maybe less than it is now. So even with a run, if they didn't get the 1st down, at least they drained some clock. They're going to fake. No, he's just rolling out, and he's going to be brought down back.
What are they doing?
Negative yardage. Very questionable calls by Rick Marchese, the head coach. And now Metuchen is re-energized with the ball on the opposite end. At that point, just go for it.
I'm being completely honest here. South River should be crushing Metuchen today. They are making some really questionable decisions. Of course, the 2 fumbles, the 1 fake punt, I understand the ball was at midfield. Here you're back at your own 30-yard line, a 4th and pretty long. I don't get the strategy there. It was 4th and 7. What were you expecting on that play? I know Ryan Kurtz likes to roll out, but that's no excuse. It's not like he was going to have his punt blocked there. He just decided to try to keep it himself. And now Metuchen gets another chance.
So they're right back in it. 2 on the left. Perillo rushing left as well. And another fumbled snap. And it's hopped on by Metuchen. They cannot afford that. That just wastes clock. It's the equivalent of getting negative yardage on a run there.
It's just getting ridiculous. I mean, that's another fumble. That time you can't really pin it on the sender. Metuchen tried to pin it kind of with one hand and one leg, and you got to try to get 2 hands on the ball there no matter where that snap is placed. And that one you got to pin on the senior quarterback there.
So they got 4 wide, sending him in motion again, but this time Holloway on the right. They'll throw it to him. He's brought down, and the ball comes loose. So it just looks like an incomplete pass in this case, and Jeffrey Ferreira did not like that call. Whatever he was motioning towards the ref, talking back. Is this going to be a 3rd down, now? And a little bit long for the Dogs. It's not ideal. Eddie, how do you think they could bounce back? What type of plays are you looking for the Bulldogs to run in order to get quick yardage and deep yardage?
Well, if you want to get quick yardage, I'd look at that play with Perillo that they almost scored the touchdown on, keeping him short. See him in motion here.
Keep throwing that motion to Perillo. This one's deep. Of course, it's Holloway down there. Overthrew. A bad throw by Metuchen. He had him beat, but he threw it out of bounds, Eddie.
He led him a little too far. I mean, Holloway's been able to beat his man throughout the day. That's Sabah Sharif, who's typically been on Aiden Holloway, a linebacker who can roll out as a defensive back and sometimes a zone safety. And I mean, you gotta be able to get that one on target. Aiden Holloway had a beat right there, had a real chance to get into the end zone, but nothing comes of it. And it looks like there's an injured South River player back in the corner of the end zone.
So an injury timeout will bring down yet another player. What a scrappy and sloppy game from both sides. Both sides taking knees, and we've seen it's a very familiar sight today. Many of Metuchen's players and South River's players have seen this, and all of Metuchen's key players, including most notably A.J. Perillo, who's been injured not just a lot. He's been injured 3 times today, and each one seemed to get a little bit worse.
Yeah, I mean, Perillo, they've been really pushing him out. This is the first injury we've really seen for the South River Rams today. It seems like they've had a little more stamina out there and haven't been really tiring out and risking these injuries. But you never want to see these players getting down with cramps and stuff. At this point in the game, I mean, make substitutions. There's 2 minutes left in the game. But it's been a weird game from both sides. A lot of flashy plays at the end of the first half, and then, to be completely frank, a lot of messy plays from both sides throughout the second half. That's really been the story. South River's been able to capitalize a little more, made a couple fewer mistakes, and that's why they're in line to win this game.
And we've seen hints of, the sloppy game in the first half, but nothing quite like what's going on right now. Every other play, it feels, is a stoppage in play, which is part of what's making this game take so long. The progress on this game, we're lasting hours. It's been 2.5 hours since kickoff, and this is running towards NFL time, just like you said earlier. So the Dogs and South River Rams are still battling. It's 3:39. Injuries and flags left and right, but we should be back in play now. It's 4th and 13. They're going to go for it. They need this if they want any slim chance to win this game.
And stinks to see Lepore banged up there. Of course, has the biggest play of the game, that deep touchdown that gave South River the commanding 2-score advantage on that deep throw from Ryan Kurtz earlier on.
For just joining us, it's Ike Bush and Eddie Kalegi, just under 2 minutes to go. And sends Perillo in motion again, but it'll cut back the other way. Here it is, their last hurl. It's deep and dropped. So that will knock out the very slim hopes that the Metuchen had to win this. It was intended for Holloway. It's not hauled in. He limps, and he doesn't look like he's fully recovered from that injury from a few plays ago.
Jihad Bright was in there to force that one out. That was a good placed throw right there from Metuchen. Holloway didn't really have to move much, but got drilled from behind from Bright. And at these last 2 minutes of the game at this point, I am shocked that Holloway and Metuchen and everything are still staying on the field. I mean, there's 2 minutes to go. At this point, down 2 scores, next to impossible that Metuchen is able to tie this game. You've got a lot of banged up players out there. Might be time to just bring in some guys and get these guys some necessary rest.
Yeah, I agree. At this point, you have to assume South River's just going to run the ball, but you really never know with the questionable Marchese play calls. But you just got to assume that the play is just going to be a run or a toss or something that they'll hope. If they get a first down or really any positive yardage, this game will probably just flow to the end. And Metuchen looked really good in the first half, but struggled afterwards. Came out of the gate really nice, but they've struggled since. This one's finally brought down in the backfield. It's a solid tackle, and this was Kendall Johnston, the sophomore, with the tackle.
It's DeAndre Morris there, and Ike. DeAndre Morris, not as big in the second half, but he's still been huge for this team all day.
Morris was substantially good in the first half, but the second half, Metuchen started to learn the scheme a little bit more and started to average out his stats a little bit more. But Morris, of course, so explosive. So we say this now, but the next play he could be running all the way. We really don't know. Good O-line and a really good quarterback with a great arm. So we got 2 in the backfield, 1 fullback and 1 running back. It's a halfback in the back, and on the wide is 1 receiver. A run, and as I said, here's a run that goes for about 10 yards or 11 yards, just short and a bit shy of the first down. They'll mark him a bit short. It's going to be 3rd down.
And finally, they're going to take Aiden Holloway out of this game. It looks like that's Michael Esso checking in, as well as number 57, Kyle Johnson. And with 30 seconds left I think it'll just be one final snap here for South River.
So Aiden Holloway and both DeGrocco Dagon come out, but I think Esso close coming out as well. But we have a big chant on the sideline. I believe that we will win as the quarterback, of course, it's Kurtz taking his knee, and that will wrap up the game. A 16-game losing streak is now, 15 was, and now it's up to 16 extended. The Bulldogs struggling a little bit on the season. In the second half, they didn't play completely to their potential. Came out of the gate very well, getting the fumble, the safety, and since then they kind of just looked stale on defense and offense. Eddie, what do you think?
I think it's all about tiring out. This team played really well in the first half, but they can only play this in spurts. You can't ask too much of this team, to be completely honest here. I mean, Metuchen put up a nice fight throughout this game. Losing by only 13, I think it's impressive, and I think I mean, they lost by 17 to them last year, so it's steady improvement, but for the Bulldogs, still a lot of holes in this team. But the fans are still pumped up and excited to have seen a competitive game today, and you know the atmosphere is going to be electric all week long, especially next Saturday night with the game against Spotswood.
Yeah, next week, Saturday night, under the lights, it's going to be a 7 p.m. game, and it's against the Spotswood Chargers at home from the Brady Borough. Everyone wear white. If you plan on coming to the game, wear white. The Bulldogs will try to snap their now 16-game losing streak, and it's going to be against the Spotswood Chargers. So checking out, it's Ike Bush and Eddie Kalegi.